to expect. We will hear, I don't think we have any appeals tonight, so we're just hearing requests for zoning variations, special permits. And so how we have an agenda printed, we'll go in order of the agenda, we'll call the case. You, the applicant, can come forward and sit in these two chairs. There is a sign-in sheet with a pen there. Sign your name legibly for us so that we can get it down. The city will give us the summary of the case, and then we will turn it over to you as the applicant to have 5 minutes if you need to say anything else. I will say that the city does a good job of summarizing the pertinent facts. And so we may ask questions, we may not, if it seems pretty clear. We will then open up the floor to anyone who got a notice and wants to speak about the application, either for or against. We will hear everyone that wants to speak, and you will have 3 minutes to speak. We don't dock time for when we ask questions. If we feel that you're making a good point and we need to inquire some more, we'll let the time go. We're pretty fair with that. So if you know that you're going to testify tonight, when you come up and speak on the mic, I will ask you if you have been sworn in. Because I don't want to swear everybody in individually, and so I will do that as a group right now. So if you know you're going to speak, please stand, raise your right hand. If the testimony you give tonight will be the truth and nothing but the truth, please state I do. I do. Thank you. I think that's all for our introductions. Do we have any preliminary matters to go over? So I do want to point out, for some of you who have been here before, we usually have a panel of 5. You have to have 3 yes votes for your request to be granted. We only have 3 tonight. We are still allowed to meet and go forward. But if you feel that you want your case heard before the full panel, you are definitely allowed to request that when you come forward, to request to be tabled until another meeting date. So I do want to give that information upfront. We will generally tip our hands a little bit about how we feel about the case. And so you can make that determination on the spot. If you feel like you need more time to go back to the residents, go back to other owners to get things straight. So I just want to explain that to everybody in case you're looking at the 3 of us here and wondering how that's going to work. Okay? No preliminary matters. We will jump right in with case number 1, 8619 Gold Leaf Lane. Will the applicant come forward? Thank you.
Just one note, Adam is out tonight, so I will be reading his case for him. So I have studied up on him, and I think I know him well enough to get questions don't clear to ask. All right, so the first one, 8619 Gold Leaf Lane, is located on the east side of Sawmill Road, approximately 575 feet south of Summit View Road. The site is zoned LAR 12, limited apartment residential, and is within the far northwest area commission. The site is developed with 14 multi-unit apartment buildings and 4 multiple private garage structures. Surrounding uses are single-unit residential to the south and west, and multi-unit residential to the north and east. The complex converted one of the 108 units to a leasing office several years prior to the current owner taking possession. The current lot area is 348,216 square feet, or 7.994 acres. Which equates to a density of 13.391 units per acre. As a result, the lot area is deficient by 36,984 square feet. The applicant is seeking a variance to increase the density from 12.11 units per acre to 13.391 units per acre. Planning Division is supportive of this request. The Northwest Plan states that higher density sites are typically located along the primary commercial corridors, including Sawmill Road. Because no exterior work is being done on the site, and the Northwest Plan's recommendation along Sawmill Road, planning is supportive. The Division of Traffic Management has no comments, and the Far Northwest Area Commission recommends approval. City staff can recommend approval as the proposal is to legitimize existing conditions. Additionally, staff notes that no exterior work is being done. The proposal is consistent with the Northwest Plans design guidelines, which advocate for higher density developments along coastal corridors. Madam Chair.
Can you state your name and whether or not you were sworn in?
Yeah, name's Adam Saad. I was sworn in.
Do you have anything else to add about the application?
No, it was well stated.
Okay. They do a good job, don't they?
I don't know what I mean.
Do we have any questions for the applicant? Okay, no questions. Are we ready for the question? Oh, I'm sorry. Is there anybody here that wants to speak about this application? No.
To clarify, there's no additional buildings going on, this is just a.
Sorry, you gotta come up so we can get your name on the record. Yeah, just go to the,
Sure.
right there. Then state your name and whether or not you were sworn in.
I'm John Blakely, and I've been sworn in.
Okay, go ahead.
We live in the places just outside of that complex. If I understood what was just said, there'd be no additional building with this. We're just trying to bring the zoning into where the existing density is today, correct?
That's my understanding as well.
Okay. I'm good.
Okay, thank you for coming.
Thanks.
Okay. Glad I asked. Is there anybody else that wants to speak? Okay, are we ready to call the question?
I'll call the question.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Jones?
Yeah.
Mr. Malika?
Yes.
Chair Pompeo?
Yes. Variance is granted. Thank you. 4540 Blue Largo Court.
Great. 4540 Blue Largo Court is located on the north side of Blue Largo Court, approximately 110 feet west of Hines Road. The site is zoned in the PUD 8 Plan Unit Development District and is located within Northland City Council. The site is developed with a single unit dwelling. Surrounding leases are primarily single unit residential dwellings. The applicant was cited for converting an attached garage into a living space and displacing 2 required parking spaces. Variance is being requested to reduce the parking setback from 25 feet to 0 feet and reduce the number of parking spaces from 2 to 1. Planning Division has no comment on this proposal. One of the citywide planning policies, design guidelines do not address the matter of single unit residential parking setbacks. The Division of Traffic Management has no comments, and usually the Northland Community Council rep is here, so I'll let him speak for their determination. City staff is recommending disapproval. Staff consistently recommends disapproval of variances that would result in the parking of vehicles in the side or front yards. Chair.
Wow. Wow. Okay, can you state your name and whether or not you were sworn in, please?
Yes, Brian Barrett, and I've been sworn in.
Okay. Do you have anything to add about this application?
Yeah, I do. So I bought the house in March of 2020, and I bought it for the sole purpose of putting a low-income family in there to get them, to have the kids have a chance to put them in Gahanna schools. We did no renovations to that house at all. When I bought the house, there was a residential disclosure form that said that they did not do any illegal improvements. So I got a zoning notice in December of 2023, basically saying you're in violation. So I did meet with the Northland Community Council, and they approved me. And yeah, so I'm here. I figured this was just an easy thing, going from 2 parking spaces to 1 parking space.
So you're saying that you bought the house and it was already like this?
Correct.
You did not do the conversion?
That's correct.
So I have a question for city staff. So we're saying 1 parking space in front of where the garage would be, right?
And in the driveway with the setback there. So,
And that's what we would normally allow? Or is that what we would not allow, 1 car in the driveway?
1 car garage is allowed to stack 1 car behind it into a requirement.
And so to be clear, the other parking space, number 2, would have been in the garage?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So let me ask the setback, what are we setting back from?
Well, the building setback, or sorry, the parking setback is established by the building setback. you can't park. If this was a one-car garage, you would stack it. But because there's no garage, a driveway is an access corridor to the legal parking spot. A legal parking spot would be at the 25-foot setback line. They're parking in front of the 25-foot setback line, so they need a variance to reduce that setback down to 0.
Okay.
But he won't be in compliance if they park 2 cars in the driveway.
No. It would be
Only be
in
one.
compliance with the required parking requirement, but not the setback.
Right, it'd still be in violation, code would still cite him.
Yes.
Are you clear on that?
Yes.
Is there anybody here that wants to speak about this application? Please come forward, sir.
Good evening, sir.
State your name. Can you grab the mic a little
Yeah,
bit? closer?
that's all right.
State your name when you're sworn in.
I will. My name is Dave Paul. I chair the Northland Community Council Development Committee, or actually co-chair. And yes, I have been sworn.
Go ahead.
Let me mention, by the way, as it turns out, and we didn't even realize this until after we'd met with the applicant, this site is not within the Northland Community Council's service area. It's actually to the east of the Northeast Area Commission service area, in an area that is not, as far as we know, served by an area commission. But when the committee realized this, as we were sitting down to talk about the case, we felt we should go ahead and form an opinion anyway, because the gentleman has spent time meeting with us. This is not an uncommon situation in the neighborhoods of Northland either, so it was something we were comfortable with and felt that we could at least provide some input to the process. As both a member of the board and staff have explained, the applicant, having lost in effect the required parking space in the garage, was simply asking to be able to park one car in the driveway behind what would have normally been the required space in the garage. We emphasized with him, and we were satisfied he understood that meant he only had one parking space on the property. Obviously, they still have street parking if it's available, but as far as spaces on the property, he could neither stack nor park more than one vehicle in the driveway. Our committee felt that under the circumstances and understanding that he didn't actually inflict this situation upon himself, that was not an unreasonable situation. We have cars stacked in driveways all over Northland and all over Columbus. As long as he understands he has given up, in effect, the ability to park a vehicle inside what used to be the garage and can only park one vehicle on the improved surface of the driveway, we thought that was fine. The committee voted unanimously to support the gentleman, Mr. Barrett, and recommend approval of the application.
So it's your testimony that this is very common in the Northland.
I don't know if the conversion of the garage to a family room or living space is so common in the Northland area, but it's certainly not rare in homes of this size, type, and age, especially. So I would say it's not uncommon. I wouldn't say it's occurs everywhere, but again, this neighborhood is not atypical for the Northland area, and it's something we've seen before in our neighborhoods. Certainly, the use of garages for something other than parking vehicles is very common. Filling them up with junk and not being able to park a vehicle there and then only being left with one legal space or ability to stack one car behind the legal space. That's very common. And so we were grateful in this case that the applicant wasn't asking, for example, to expand the driveway, which is probably a more common request in our neighborhood.
So who is the approved area? Like,
I don't believe this resides within area commission boundaries. It's actually just outside I-270. It's well to the east of our jurisdiction and just to the east of the Northeast Area Commission.
so nobody's being harmed by us weighing in on this even, I mean, we're certainly not gonna count.
Even without a
Effect, but we don't-
recommendation, then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I kind of see this as an existing condition. So that's just my thoughts on it.
I would agree, and I'm kind of okay with it because we're only taking one parking space. And I would probably be comfortable if 10 more people in the neighborhood still came with the same request. So.
Good. Do you have anybody else that wants to speak about this application? Okay, ready to call the roll? Do we have any other questions for the applicant?
I'll call the question.
Questions being called, please call the roll.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yeah.
Chair Paul Bailey.
Yes. Let the record show that our fourth panel member has arrived and will join us on starting with case number 3.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
84 West Longview Avenue.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, your variance was approved. Case number 3, 84 West Longview Avenue.
Why'd you guys abandon the walkway up here today?
I was in the gallery.
84 West Longview Avenue is located on the north side of West Longview Avenue, approximately 630 feet west of North High Street. It's part of the Clintonville Area Commission and existing zoning is R2F Residential District. The 0.08 acre site is currently developed with a single unit dwelling. Surrounding uses include similar single unit dwellings to the north, south, east, and west. The applicant proposes to construct a 2-story addition to the rear of the principal structure, attaching the currently detached garage. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the total side yard from 8 feet to 6 feet, and to reduce the total rear yard from 25% to 15%. Planning staff supports the applicant's variance proposals for required side yard and rear yard reductions. The proposed addition is consistent with the Clintonville Neighborhood Plan's recommendation for new additions to be compatible and similar in character to existing nearby home designs in terms of height, width, setbacks, and lot coverage. The proposal is also consistent with the plan's recommendation of new additions being placed to the rear or side of the primary structure. The Division of Traffic Management has no comments, and the Clintonville Area Commission has recommended approval of the requested variances, voting unanimously. Likewise, the City Department's recommendation is that of approval. Staff can recommend approval of the requested variances as the addition would not be incongruent with the surrounding neighborhood and does not alter the frontage of the structure as the Clintonville Neighborhood Plan recommends. Likewise, the side yard variance is necessitated by the large roof overhang rather than exterior walls of the building, thus mitigating the side yard reduction. Chair.
Okay. Yes, we can ask that. Can you say your name, please, and let me know who's you sworn in?
Ken Scarborough,
Were you sworn in?
1957.
No, were you sworn in tonight?
Oh, I was sworn in, yes.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I didn't, yeah, I've been sworn.
Okay, good. So question for you, are you adding a garage structure or the garage structure is there and you're just connecting 2 buildings?
No, that old garage is going to be removed. And the new garage will attach to the back of the house
Okay,
with the
so,
living space.
okay, got you. So you're
Above.
moving a garage that was there.
Yes.
Same footprint? No.
Oh, no,
No,
different
different.
footprint.
Okay. I just wasn't clear on that part. Okay. So do you have anything else to tell us about the project?
No, I think it's kind of self-explanatory.
Quick question, are you planning on renting out that?
Oh, no. Oh, no. My grandkids live next door, so it's going to be a 4th bedroom eventually. Maybe my son will finish it.
Do we have anybody who wants to speak about this application?
I think he's had a hearing appeared tonight. He said earlier he wanted to speak about it.
Oh, this gentleman just went.
Yeah.
No, he wants to speak about Cedar Alley.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
What's the rear yard setback?
No rear yard setback, it's a reduction from 25% to 15%. The setback would be for this total side yards, which is, it should be noted, necessitated by the roof line. If you look at the site plan here, the low roof line is indicated by the dashed line, and that is what is necessitating reduction from 8 feet to 6 feet total. But the walls themselves would, if we measured that side yard setback by the exterior walls, it would be in code, but we don't, we measure it by the actual roof line itself.
So I'm looking at the east elevation.
So you're looking at a site plan
Now
here.
look at the east, just, can you pull up the east elevation?
This would be the east elevation.
You know, I mean, they drawing,
of the east elevation.
Oh, gotcha. So that would be in your packets. We don't have it in our presentation.
Well, there's a overhang
Mhm.
on the rear
Mhm.
of the building that looks like it goes over the setback.
Oh, I see what you're saying, into the alley.
Yes.
Okay.
So that, yeah, there's no rear setback. There is a rear, there's a distance from view. That is,
Maneuvering, Jenkins?
sorry, yeah, maneuvering. But,
So the eave could come over the maneuvering.
I mean, I don't know, Kevin, what do you guys think? Would you allow an EV to go in your right away?
Nope.
Yeah. Right.
Well, for the purposes of the variances, I mean,
Yeah.
that's something that would be sussed out on a site compliance, I would, as far as I understand. We have the site, that we're not getting the site plan or elevation stamped or anything.
Okay.
And the site plan, for the record here, does not reflect that, that overhang, so.
Okay, sir, I don't know if you're following that conversation, but it looks like we're not approving your elevations, because it sounds like you have a overhang that's not allowed to be where it is on the rear of the
Okay.
building. So I didn't want you to be confused about what we're approving tonight and we weren't.
Oh, I see.
So we will approve, if we vote appropriately, that the side yard and the rear yard reduction, but that has nothing to do with actual, what's your footprint of the
Yeah,
building you're trying to put there.
yeah, this is the first I've heard about the rear low overhanging.
Yeah, and that will be fleshed out in what committee will be doing that?
It would just be caught in final site compliance, say if it's not allowed, it's not allowed.
Okay,
Resident.
so.
Yeah.
Okay. Is anybody here that wants to speak about this application? Seeing no one coming forward, do we have any other questions for the applicant?
I'll call the question.
Question's been called, please call the roll.
Mr. Wallerly?
Yes.
Mr. Jones? Yes. Mr. Malika?
Yes, Chair Palmgren.
Yes, variance is granted, thank you.
All right, thank you.
543 and 545 South High Street.
Okay, 543 and 545 South High Street are located at the southwest corner of Foster Street and South High Street. Site is zone C4 commercial and located within what's now known as the Historic Resources Commission. There is no rear district. 543 South High Street is developed with a two-story building that consists of a first floor eating and drinking establishment and a second floor commercial space. 543 South High Street has consisted of one building with 0 parking spaces. Since it was split from its parent parcel, it was 85 seconds. Since it was split from its parent parcel in 1943, which is now the adjacent parking lot under unrelated ownership. Site plan for the 543 South High Street, which noted that the second floor had an office use, was approved by City of Columbus in 1985, which is what's on the screen right now. A copy of the site plan is included in Exhibit 1. 545 South High Street is an extension of the neighboring first floor eating and drinking establishment. Second two. And also includes outdoor patio seating and 20 parking spaces. Site plan for the property depicting the building's patio space and parking was approved by the City of Columbus in 1993. I thought it said 92. And is included as Exhibit 2. The applicant consists of 28 parking spaces on the parking lot parcel after 5 p.m. on weekdays and all day on weekends. The applicant is requesting 2 parking variances, one for each parcel consisting of the property to 1, enclose a portion, and look at the pictures. Close the portion of the patio space located at 545 South High Street, and 2, to convert the second floor of 543 South High Street from an office space to a yoga suite. The the Brewer District Plan, which is covered by the Historic Resources Commission, notes that the parking need of the district should be considered in an overall scheme. Due to access to transit and the property's location on a main corridor, planning supports the proposed parking reduction variance as presented. The Division of Traffic Management has no comment, and the Historic Resources Commission are recommending approval of this request, and Dan, the final site is stand by that. City staff is recommending approval of reduced parking in consideration of the access to public transit The property's location on a main board. I'm here.
Okay, can you state your names, whether or not you're sworn in?
Craig Moncrief, attorney for the applicant. I have not been sworn in.
No, have you been sworn in?
Alex Babamovsky, and I have not been sworn in.
Do you raise your right hand? Do you promise that the testimony you give tonight will be the truth, nothing but the truth, state I do?
I do.
I do.
Go ahead with your testimony.
Yeah, thank you for your time. Once again, my name is Craig Moncrief. Sort of an ironic situation here. This is a property on South High Street. So 2, 4, 6 months from now, when this new zoning code.
Can you
is-
speak up? I can't hear you.
Sorry. So, sort of ironic situation here. This property is on South High Street. So 2, 4 months from now, you could be looking at a situation where this property is part of the new zoning code and there's no parking minimum standards. With that said, there is a active violation on the property, so we are here requesting 2 parking variances. The situation is that, as you can see to the picture to the right, the second floor was converted from office use to a yoga studio. That changes the parking calculation to require 1 additional parking space. To the left, you can see, call it kind of a typical situation I've seen more frequently since COVID, as far as enclosing a portion of your patio space. So this has been a long-lasting sports bar next door, and recently they enclosed a portion of it, which increases the parking calculation. So with that, we're requesting a variance for an additional 7 spaces for that. Couple things to keep in mind here. There is a parking lot next door, surface parking lot behind the building. They do not own that parking lot. However, they do have an agreement to use 28 parking spaces for off hours. Off hours works well for a bar. You're talking about after 5 p.m. on weekdays and then on weekends. So there is additional opportunity for parking spaces out there. And also, this is on High Street. There's plenty of parking on both sides of High Street, down Blankner, things like that, parking garages out there. So with that in mind, not changing the layout or, necessarily the fabric of the property, simply, paying mind to some certain changes to the property recently. So with that, requesting your approval.
You said the yoga studio triggered 1 parking space,
That's correct.
so who's the teacher? Like, I don't get it, like 1 parking space?
As far as the change from office use to
Oh.
yoga,
Okay, got it, 1 additional,
1 additional parking space. Mhm.
okay.
But wouldn't be in the downtown area?
This is south of 70, so it's outside of their jurisdiction.
I mean, I appreciate your point about what will come, what will likely be in several months. But I'm hopeful that these spaces continue to be marked. Although the zoning requirements will be different, people will still need to park. And in order for everybody to work collaboratively, it will still need to be illustrated that parking spaces are available for your establishment from this time to this time. I don't know, do you already have those in place?
Everything is marked, just to clear up, we also pay to lease the parking spots next door to us. So they are ours to use.
Is it already or?
Yeah, there's signs out there that say
Yes.
Victory parking after hours.
Yeah, so again, I just want to make clear, despite the fact that the zoning requirements change, people will still need those spaces.
Yeah,
That's
those will be
like-
there regardless of
Okay.
what, yeah.
And if we were to adjust the rate of variance, then it runs with the land. And so we need to think about what happens next. Selling out your yoga studio, not yoga studio, everything that's going to happen next, we still have to think about.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Just in consideration of, 28 additional parking spaces off-site are readily available on street. This has been there since late 80s, early 90s.
Yes, God knows when.
And what's the total number of spaces required for these establishments?
So for the parking, there's 14 as far as.
That's what code requires is 14?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anybody else who wants to speak about this?
I've
Who
got
wants to-
pictures. Would anybody like to see these
Who
pictures?
wants to go first? Are you gonna go first?
No, he'll go
Okay,
first.
so
But
wait.
I wanted you to have these in front of you.
Okay.
Each stack has about 4 or 5 pictures.
Oh, okay, so it's two different stacks. Thank you.
Hold on, 3 minutes.
If you could sign in on the sheet in front of you, but
Absolutely.
I was gonna bring my menu, but I got to bring it.
Tony could brought food.
Yeah.
Okay, whoever's going first, can you state your name, whether or not you were sworn in?
I am Jeff Ironman, the counsel for the landowner here, Brunello IT, and I haven't been sworn.
Okay, sir, can you state your name?
My name's Anthony or Tony Scartz, Scartz. I own Tony's Italian Restaurant, which is one building south of the property that,
Have you been sworn in tonight?
yes,
Okay.
that's what.
So you said you have not been.
No, I have not.
Okay, raise your hand. Do you-
Nope. It's only kindergarten.
Do you promise that the testimony gives nothing but the truth, nothing but the truth? Please state I do.
I do.
Okay, go ahead with your testimony.
Like I said, I represent Brunello IT. That's the landowner that owns the land to the south there. I know there's a kind of a history between these two properties. I know we're not here to talk about that now, but our biggest concern is, one, getting access to what is our northern wall, and two, there's this, I know the pictures we're passing around are showing it, but I don't know if you can quite see on the overhead there, that structure in the back kind of sticking off. Yeah, you've got your mouse cursor right over it. That's perfect.
It's pictures, one, and if you look at the first, I think it's 1, 2, and 3 or 4, where you see they're attached to my building. Okay,
Oh, I see.
without any permits or variance or whatever, they just did it.
Yeah.
What?
They just did it with no permits or anything like that.
So when you say attached to your building,
Yeah, look
is
at
it
the,
attached or just abuts it? It just.
well, I believe it's attached. I don't,
Well, we gotta.
I believe it's attached.
We gotta speak in searches.
If you blow it up over there, okay? Right there, okay, you'll see where it's attached, okay? At least in my opinion, it's attached. You couldn't get 2 inches in between them if you tried, okay?
But that would
But
be
that's not
attached.
the definition of
Okay, I don't-
attached.
You'd have to see it in person. I think the zoning people have been out there to look at it.
Okay.
And that's why they are being held in violation of certain zoning issues with them, okay? When I complained to the zoning people, then they sent somebody out.
Okay.
They were nice enough to look at it, okay? And they said, oh, by the way, he's in violation of having the parking spot measurements are not right.
So let me ask you a question. You say they just did it. You're saying this structure is new to the.
No,
relatively new?
it's pretty old.
When I say they did it, it's been added since you've owned this property. It was not there at one time and then they added this?
Oh, yeah, everything you see over there, everything you see, that whole red, everything you see was added on, okay? And everything you see is done without one single permit.
Okay. I just wanted to understand the.
And,
Yeah, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. But our position is that, if it's not attached, it's certainly, obviously, you can see from the pictures, very, very, very close to the building. We're concerned that it's all wood, it's abutting Tony's, the restaurant at Tony's Kitchen. So if something catches on fire in that building, it's gonna be in the kitchen. We got fire hazard concerns with the building there.
Excuse me,
Yes.
are you here to speak about the variances or?
Yes,
Fine.
no, I'm getting to that. I appreciate you keeping me on track here. What we would recommend if the variance is approved, that structure, just that shed part in the back be taken down. That way it removes some seating because they've got seating inside it. So it cuts down on the parking requirements. It frees up some parking spaces because you can park a car there, obviously. And that would be our recommendation.
So I don't know that we have the authority to tell the property owner that they have to remove a building. Like, so we're only here to talk about required parking spaces for the change in use of the structure. That already exists,
Could that be a condition of the variance?
that they remove the structure.
Yeah.
We can consider that. I don't know that you would have much support for us to do that.
I understand.
It seems like this is a building code
Yeah, this seems
issue,
like,
construction code, not a zoning issue, in my mind. Because what I see here, again, if it's rear lot line development, which is approved out here based on the typology of the lots, it's a construction type that you would question because it's wood construction abutting masonry building.
right, and then not to diminish your concerns, I'm not trying to say that, I just think this is not the right forum for that. Like, we don't have the authority to rule on a variance for a parking permit and say a structure has to be demolished and has to be removed to solve the parking issue. That's a little too far for us.
He's lowering by what the variance, I think is doing it.
Say it again, so can you
He's
kick the
low-
mic? Can you?
He's lowering the requirements that are necessary, okay, for the parking,
Right.
okay? So by two.
By
Because the
one.
shed, well, the shed takes up, if you look at that picture, the shed takes up approximately 10 feet wide. That's at least two spots, okay? So by lowering the, by building the shed, he was fine until he built the shed, and that he met the requirements, okay? But then when he built the shed, he took away two parking spots, and that's what lowered him below, okay, the requirement that's necessary.
And that could be, but he's not here asking to build a shed. The shed's there.
Well,
So if that was the case, valid point, if he was asking to build the shed, we would be taking a whole different conversation about parking. But that's done.
Yeah.
What we're looking at now is a business on High Street, easily walkable, easily parkable. We would have no other reason to say you can't reduce the
He
parking.
provided you with any pictures of what he wants to do.
Again, that would not be a part of our requirement because they're just asking for parking.
Well,
And I think
he
that's-
wants to, but it says here he wants to enclose.
And that's an issue that site approval, goes to site approval.
Correct. If these variances get approved, they will have to get permits. To
Right.
finalize. When they get permits, inspection will come out and say if it's code compliant, building code compliant or not. That's when you would address this.
It'll be the first permit he's ever got.
Well, hey, not, better late than never.
Just, you know,
So to be clear, he's already built this thing, right?
Yeah.
And code gave him building permits to do this. He just did it on his own. Okay.
So that may cause an issue when you're trying to do.
everything you see has been done that way. Everything you see has been done that way, okay? And I've been in business there 41 years. Also, the lot that the shed sits on, I was gonna buy that lot 38 years ago, but then I found out that there's a gas line problem underneath that, and you can't build on top of it without that Columbia Gas going in and redoing the whole parking lot. It was too costly, so I walked away from buying it. Because I was thinking maybe that someday I'd want to build on it, you know, as an expansion for my restaurant, okay? So if you know, it's sitting on some kind of a gas line that Columbia Gas may know or may not know that there's things that are built on top of it. And if they were to have to go in there and do any work on that parking lot. I don't know how they do it.
Okay.
We've, yeah, that's our that's our recommendation.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wants to speak about this application?
Thank you.
Thank you. Applicant can come forward. Yep, so you want your pictures?
Yeah.
They don't want you to trip over them.
I got a lot of stuff.
Liability, right?
Before,
Thank you.
I would have probably said, you need to have a cross-maintenance access agreement, which does not exist. And we've eliminated or he's avoided that whole opportunity for us to have that conversation if we say yes to that.
Well, there are no side yard requirements in, that's something for that.
Can everybody use their microphones?
Sorry.
Trouble.
So that there are no side yard requirements in the commercial districts, that's only the residential districts will require that.
But might I have said it anyway?
You might have.
I mean, when I think about somebody building a structure, they would
A
have, to-
wood structure.
I would have said that.
Well, again, there's only from zoning side requirements. Building does have fire ratings and
Right.
other standards that they will have to adhere to when they get their permits and will be inspected. From a zoning standpoint, when we require the maintenance access agreements, that's so neighbor A can go on neighbor B's lot to do maintenance on their lot.
Same thing applies here though.
And I would dispute too that this is a structure. There's been a walk-in cooler in this area for 30+ years. You can see it in areas.
It's not
The
a shed.
pictures I saw, even when you have a carport, that's a structure. You have that. You have effectively a structure by the city's definition as I see it.
Well, in that case, I mean,
But let me ask, I'm gonna pick up off that. So obviously, Mr. Scars brought up that there was utility easement access issues, which for me is a big deal. So picking up off what Mr. Jones was saying, how can you be compliant if there is an issue that obviously we don't know about, but if there is an access issue there, how do we know?
well, my understanding is there's a,
Did you pull all the permits?
what's that?
Did you pull the permits?
No. But I mean, there's been site plans approved from 85, 1993.
When you built the structure, did you pull the permits?
Everything was there.
Yeah, I mean, as far as everything patio wise was out there, they might have added some roofing and things like that, but there's been no quote unquote structure added.
But you're cutting down parking for a structure.
No, the walk-in had been there before we had the property. It's a walk-in cooler that's been there for years.
Okay, so you didn't pull the permits, you didn't know, you got caught.
We
You
didn't
get that.
install it. We bought it that way.
Yeah, you got caught, I get that.
So, city. We're only looking at the parking variance. And nothing that we say today allows them to build or enclose or anything else. It just,
Not anymore, yeah.
Had he done this in the beginning, we would have had the opportunity, right?
Yes.
And that's what he's
So,
certainly
and if you
admitted.
say no, if you say no now, I mean, and to the question of whether it's a structure or not, anything taller than 6 feet, a 6-foot fence, a 6 feet with 1 inch fence is a structure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I went in pictures, and these are like, little sliding kind of walls or partitions. So I would say, yeah, these are structures. They may not have footers. But I think, there's no argument there. But to your point, yeah, if they would come in and ask for permission, you said no, they couldn't build it. If you say no now, they would have to move.
I guess that's how I'm looking at this, Eleanor, as a reverse engineer. They just skipped by us, should have come here to ask for this in the beginning so that they could do this. You follow what I'm saying? And we would have given them this guidance then. We would have had a set of eyeballs on it then and had a better understanding of what it looked like. And like I said, even if I didn't know better, I would probably say, so what about a cross maintenance access agreement? Because now, even though it's not attached to the building next door, it doesn't allow for maintenance. And now if they need to come in and paint,
Well, but if the neighboring building is on a property line, they can't really I mean, they may lean on it, but they're not accessing the neighbor's property to do their maintenance.
If he would need to paint the side of his building,
Yeah,
he would need to get on the other person's property.
no, there's a building there. The building is at a 0 setback. You can't physically do it.
I'm talking about where this new structure was created, not the entire space,
Yeah, I know. Tony's building is at the 0 lot line.
right?
So
There is no,
there's
there's
no
no
way
way
to
to
access
access
his
it,
property to do anything.
no space.
I think I'm understanding what you're saying.
Go back to the picture of the back. That wall, that ivy,
Yes.
that's Tony's restaurant, correct?
Mhm.
And the trellis and stuff looks like the bottom, I don't know, which is the way, I don't know what that's ours.
I don't think so.
No, that wall is ours
That
with
wall
the ivy, yes. And that wall has been there for many years before we got into the properties. That, we didn't erect that. I just want to make that clear.
I appreciate that comment.
Yeah.
But when you make any change, that makes everything back in question. When you added the roof line, the whatever, now it's all new, right? So whatever you feel was grandfathered because it was there before you came in, now it's subject to interpretation again. So all I'm saying is that is a wall, whether it was there first, it's a wall that keeps Tony from going to his wall. And I think that's the point that he was making. And I'm saying if they came in and proposed this thing, again, I'm supposing, I would have probably said, well, hey, how are you gonna impose? It wasn't there before, and I would probably say something about it today. I feel weird about it because we would have had these comments, had you come in here in the beginning.
And one thing too, the request is to legitimize the area to the right, the picture to the right, so the area that was fully enclosed, if you will. So if there is an issue with the patio area, that would come up as part of the site compliance plan. And if it had to be removed, it had to be removed too.
So I can't speak to that.
He's right, that's right. Okay.
I'm just worried we're overstepping,
Yeah, I don't.
because we're talking a zoning issue and we're bringing up a lot of code building issues. That's not what I agree that structure is not built per code, period. That's not our charge here. I don't know how we can weigh in on
Yeah, and I
building
just,
code issues when it's a zoning issue.
and I want to make sure that if we vote on this, we're not sidestepping and giving them approval on something that we shouldn't be giving approval on.
No, not at all. In fact, I think they said they're in court right now, so this is, the first step. I think that will allow them to get their building permit, to get out. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct.
But that's gonna trigger, I think, the building codes to dig in.
Yeah, I mean, eyes are on this thing, so code enforcement knows all about it. It's just basically the first step.
Okay. Okay, so do we have any other questions for the applicant? And we are clear that we're voting to reduce the required number of parking spaces from 1 to 0 for the yoga studio on the second floor and from 7 to 0 for the patio enclosure. We're not approving patio enclosure, we're just approving the required parking reduction. Are we ready to call the question?
I'll call the question.
Question involved, please call roll.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Malco?
Yes.
Mr. Waltley?
No.
Sheriff Paul Bailey?
Yes. It's granted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
999 Bonham Avenue.
Bonham Avenue is located on the south side of Bonham Avenue at the terminus of St. Clair Avenue. It is part of the South London Area Commission and existing zoning is M Manufacturing District. The approximately 42-acre site is currently developed with an aggregate supply business. Surrounding uses include an auto repair shop, multi-unit dwellings, and a school to the north, rail line to the south, junkyard to the east, and various industrial uses to the west. The applicant proposes to construct multiple silos on the site for the purposes of storing aggregate materials. The applicant is requesting a variance to increase the height limit from 35 feet to 76 feet. Columbus citywide planning policies, C2C2 commercial design guidelines state requests for a variance in height will be considered based on site size and situation, adjacent uses, quality of architectural design and materials, and parking provision. C2P2 also recommends buffering between adjacent uses and that screening be provided between residential and non-residential uses. Division of Traffic Management is supportive of the requested variance with conditions, which we will get to that in a second. And the South London Area Commission has recommended approval of the requested variances with 3 voting in favor and 1 abstention. City Department's recommendation is that of approval. Staff can recommend approval as the site is already subject to variances increasing the storage pile height, so open storage of aggregate materials. Increasing the allowable structure height in order to construct storage silos for this material can be considered preferable to the current conditions where the material in question is stored in open piles. So, the conditions that have been recommended by traffic have changed since the publication of the staff report that you are reading. So I will read the new conditions.
How many are there?
There are going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 conditions. One of those conditions does have a few sub-notes. So, first condition is that the height limit increase shall apply only to the silos indicated on the associated stamped site plan. And we do have a stamped site plan here for signature should this be approved. Second condition is that the applicant shall grant by deed or easement as determined by the Department of Public Service in consultation with the City Attorney's Office, additional public right-of-way dedication totaling 100 feet along Cleveland Avenue into the site per the Columbus Multimodal Thoroughfare Plan. Third condition, the applicant shall complete a traffic impact study or site access study as determined and approved by the Department of Public Service, which study shall, among other traffic matters, address the following, and these are the sub-items. 1, the necessary roadway improvements, including but not limited to Grogan Avenue between the site and East 11th Avenue, the existing east-west alley immediately north of the site between Fields Avenue and Grogan Avenue. The second item, roadway improvements necessary to accommodate site traffic, including truck traffic, traveling between the site and the arterial street network. Third item, an evaluation of the ability for the existing structures over Essex Avenue and Cleveland Avenue to safely support truck traffic. One of the peculiarities of this property is that there are 2 caps running across Cleveland Avenue and I-71. So this is all one parcel, this long item here. And there are 2 caps that go over Cleveland Avenue and I-71 that are part of this property. It is those structures over these 2 thoroughfares that are in question in that item.
Which structures again?
These 2 structures here, it's a cap over I-71 and a cap over Cleveland Avenue.
Okay.
Those are part of this property.
And they're owned by the applicant or the highways?
Owned by the applicant. That's going to be something that's sussed out in final site compliance as far as what easements are going to be needed for that. I can let traffic speak to that once we get there. But the final item is going to be that the applicant shall address any necessary site circulation revisions or site access revisions as determined by the Department of Public Service. We're still figuring out who's going to be responsible for those structures over I-71 in Cleveland Avenue, as far as I understand. I will defer to traffic, though, to speak more to that matter, as that's something that is still being sussed out between the applicant and traffic. Check.
While she's looking at that, can you show me with your cursor where these silos are?
Sorry?
Show me. No. Go back to that thing. Where are these silos going?
You're going to be right here. So here on the site plan are the silos in question, which corresponds roughly on the aerial to this area here.
So 76 feet, 76 or 75 feet tall.
Right. 76.
Over Cleveland Avenue.
Not over Cleveland Avenue.
I think of Tumble.
Gotcha. Fair enough. So, and the site plan is split between 2 pages because it is such a long site. So we have Cleveland Avenue here, and then you have this amount of distance until you get to the next sheet, and then continues here, there are the silos. Fair. Jamie makes a good point. Here where the silos are being built, the land does go down. It's so slightly depressed there, so it's not going to be a total height above the Cleveland Avenue.
Okay. Right.
Okay, can you state your names and whether or not you were sworn in?
May I ask who the gentleman is beside me for a moment, one moment?
He's the owner of the land.
James Wilson. I know that, yeah.
Okay, okay.
Wait a minute, he's not the applicant. He's the owner of the property. The applicant is my buyer, Riverside Construction. But yes, I didn't know who was sitting beside me. So I would like to present as the representative for applicant, which is Riverside Construction, Inc., and the buyer, Sylvie Materials. Yes, Mr. Wilson hopefully can speak after the presentation for applicant.
Okay, and your name is, please?
Thank you so much. My name is Rebecca Mott with Plank Law Firm with an office address of 411 East Town Street, Columbus, Ohio, 43215. This property is zoned manufacturing and has been since the zoning code was adopted in 1959. This whole area was manufacturing, and over time, there's been different uses with this character of the neighborhood, but it still has a lot of manufacturing in this area. The property's been used as a salvage yard with BZA variances and special permits over time for concrete storage, aggregate, all kinds of salvage businesses. But this business is not a salvage yard. This business doesn't need a special permit. In fact, the special permits for the salvage yard have expired. The variances that are entitled already to the property are shown on your site plan by crosshatch. So this crosshatch here is a remaining variance for a portion of the property, which included a pile height variance to 60 feet for this portion that's crosshatched. For this crosshatched area here, there's also a pile height variance already from 30 feet to, trying to find the words. No, from 10 feet to 30 feet. So down here, this is where the height variance would apply. That would be for 76 feet in height from 35 feet, because this area is not crosshatched with the land use variance or land area variance this time. However, these are enclosed silos or domes. And this is concrete powdered material, cement material. It's not being mixed in the silos and domes. So it's a powder.
What's the material of the silo? The construction?
Yeah, let me show you a photo of what these look like on other sites in the country that our client uses in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. This is what they look like. They are to house powder cement. There's no mixing of the cement within this structure. So it's 76 feet. However, please note that every part of this 42 acres of this property, which is 6 parcels, this entire stretch has a 60-foot height variance, or not variance, 60-foot height standard by code. So this side already has 60 feet height by code. And this section has a 35 plus some 60 and 30 for pile height variances on portions of it. Where you see the silos on your site plan is where we've committed to with staff for the height variance. So 76 feet would be everything from the silos and domes over. So it's not on the full portion of the property.
Yeah, I understood that. And in my mind, I've never seen a sphere referred to as a silo. That must just be the new standard.
Oh, it's, I mean, you could call it a silo, a dome, a sphere. I don't know if that's a term of art. Yeah.
Not a silo. Again, just in my mind visually, I'm envisioning a 76-foot tall tower, not a sphere, which is actually wider or as wide as it is tall.
Okay.
So that's a different visual, right? And I know you are very thorough in everything that you do. I would be curious, I guess it's counter to your application, but I'd be curious to know, what does this look like from a neighborhood? No, not that, but literally this application. What does the neighborhood view look like from all four angles?
Well, good point. So in March 21st, actually March 21st was a meeting that we invited all of the neighbors. This was before the formal meetings of South Linden Area Commission because we wanted to know what the neighborhood thought. So we invited neighbors. The notice went out. The meeting was held March 21st at the library in a large meeting room. Not one neighbor showed up, but the zoning committee for the South Linden Area Commission showed up. They were so impressed with the project and the job growth in the area and all of the things that we're doing in terms of the landscape buffer along the north property line that you can see is a 3-foot mound, 2 rows of evergreen trees, 6 foot tall on the 3-foot mound, with also fencing, adjacent to that mound. That screens all the parking and all of the uses except this rear setback of the domes, of course. But the neighborhood group was so impressed that in that informal neighbor meeting, no neighbors showed up. South Linden Area Commission Zoning Committee showed up and voted for a recommendation that night for it to go to the full commission. When we went to full commission, it was also voted for a recommendation of approval. So that should give you justification that the neighborhood supports this project, that no one came in opposition.
I hope they do,
Mhm.
but what you just said does not give me that impression. It tells me that the zoning and the commission did, and I don't know how engaged that group is. You and I have been doing this long enough to know that it's not always reflective of the true community or the neighborhood. That's beside the point. You don't have to speak to that. What I'm asking you specifically, I want to see what it looks like, but you don't have that visual for me.
We don't have a rendering or an elevation tonight of the proposed domes on this property. Planning asked for a photo and some renderings of sites in the country. So we gave them those existing site elevations and photos from the country, other locations that our client has and runs and operates. They were satisfied that under C2, P2 and their planning guidelines, planning department was supportive. We do have city staff support. We also are working with the traffic division. We have committed to all of their conditions. There was one item left, which was that during final site compliance plan, you're asking for a structural analysis to be done of these bridge structures. But keep in mind, we will do that. But keep in mind, these bridges are existing. There is rail lines that the railroad companies has with our property on the same grade as the property over these I-71 viaducts and Cleveland Avenue. So you have to understand that there were a lot more rails here with transportation of large loads, railroad car loads, much larger than trucks. And this site has been operated as salvage yard with pile height 60 feet high and truck movement throughout history. We have no issue with the structures. In fact, we have agreements in the chain of title already between the Ohio Department of Transportation, City of Columbus, and this property that run and bind the property forever in perpetuity for maintenance obligations. And they don't belong to this property owner. They belong to ODOT and the City of Columbus. And we have those documents. We've shared those documents with the city as well. So we're working with the city. We're definitely going to meet the conditions specified to you for traffic. We're going to do a structural analysis, as was asked of us today by traffic under our final site compliance plan review process. But we have one variance. We have honored the code on every other issue. Setbacks, landscaping, we even put supplemental landscaping in. We asked the neighborhood to participate in conversations, in meetings. They didn't come. We've done all things. So we've honored the code. We have one variance here. It's for a limited portion of the property, and it literally is to house powder cement. And in a manufacturing district, you are allowed to have outside storage of materials as a permitted use. And so this is inside storage. Just keep that in mind. And also, we do have some outside storage shown. So there's some aggregate piles of salt, stone, and other stone and salt and lime, I think it's lime. In that circular area, that's all permitted under a manufacturing district. But again, keep in mind, our powder cement is within silos or domes interior, and we could put it outside. That would be permitted in an M district. So again, we think we're honoring the code here. It's one variance. This property has a history of variances for height and all kinds of things, including special permits. Our uses are permitted as a legal right. We do not need a special permit from this body. We're asking for your recommendation,
Yeah,
for your approval.
I just want to be clear. I'm not saying anything. I'm opposed to anything. I just want to see it. And I think it looks like a great idea, great project. I just want to see. So Dana, if you could give me a Google Earth and like street view where I could pan over and look. I just want to have a sense of what that looks like. I don't think that it's a bad thing. I just don't know what it looks like. Is it gonna look? I don't even want to guess what it's gonna look like. I just want to.
Can I say one thing?
Well,
hold on, sir, I'll open it up. Yeah.
All right, so correctly, the silos would be roughly in this area.
And so everything around that.
Pop it down like here.
So everything around it, so the silos are down, right?
Right around here.
And so they're shielded by the railroad track, right? And so now coming up 71 and up Cleveland Avenue. I'm just wondering, it doesn't matter if you're driving down Cleveland Avenue and seeing it, but like if we had an idea of the angle from the neighborhood, like what are they going to see? Are they just gonna see the crest at the top of it, which isn't in and of itself a big deal? It doesn't look like it's gonna block anything.
Yeah, we could look from here. Bottom would be the boundary between this and the neighborhood to the north. And this would be the view south.
With all your perfect tools over there, Dave, I think you have the ability, doesn't Google have the ability to like do that? And like a height?
No Google Earth.
You can go like a 3D down, go maps from there.
Okay. So we would see it from here is my guess. And you'd see the tips of it. Okay. That's helpful.
Let's see if we can.
But none of this is even residential. We're not at the residential section, right?
No, this would be manufacturing here, residential.
But were we looking at it from a resident, like the neighbor on bottom and whatever that residential?
We would have been looking at it from here, which this would be residential.
Okay.
Here.
And that's where she wants to have the evergreens and everything.
Correct. The landscaping and the mound is going to be on bottom, separating the site from the area to the north.
Yeah. And you know, I can speak from history. You've been in here before and we've seen not so favorable things and conditions on the site. And I just want to make sure that this new use, will you remain the owner or are they actually buying it?
They're buying.
Okay. That all of the shielding and screening actually takes place and it's maintained. You know, we've dealt with a number of these issues, not specifically on this site, and maybe it was on this site, non-deciduous trees, or in some cases, deciduous trees that have died and prevented or, you know, still allowed for view of not so favorable conditions. So just want to be extremely careful and intentional about how we look at this. Like I said, it is simple, right? It's one simple variance in an isolated area, but it's a whole project, right? So I'm not gonna say anything.
What's the applicant?
I was just gonna say, it helps for gauging what distance we're looking at here. It looks like, so this shack here, from bottom, we're seeing that's gonna be the shack there.
Okay.
So it's a distance farther than that, about twice to three times that is gonna be where those silos are gonna be.
Yeah.
Twice to three times that
The
distance.
scale there, from the corner of St. Clair to bottom, that corner to the silo is 700 feet. From Cleveland Avenue to the silos is 350 feet.
Yeah. Thank you.
Does the applicant have anything further to say?
Not at this time.
Sir, can you?
I'm okay.
Oh, you don't want? State your name though for the record because.
James Wilson, and I was sworn in.
Okay, so start before you give your name. Okay, is there anybody else that wants to speak about, please come forward, sir? Okay, can you get the mic close to your face so we can hear you? State your name and whether or not you were sworn in.
Yes, my name is George N. Walker Jr., and yes, I've been sworn in.
Okay, go ahead.
Good afternoon. As a matter of fact, the attorney was wrong. The community was there. I'm one of the community leaders in Linden. I was on the commission for 12 years as the chair. I spent 32 years on the commission. Linden is a very historical place. And this is going to be one project that is going to really, we're in Linden right now, we're looking at nothing is going on. A lot of the new buildings, a lot of new, and the last time we were here, they were talking about putting affordable housing in that area. And I don't know if they were going to be for my people. So, no, we voted against that as a commission when I was the chair. And this project is a hope. And I hope you vote for this project to go on. So nothing comes into Linden without somebody really looking at it before it comes over there in South Linden. So I just wanted to make sure I go on the record to let them know that the community wants it. And I'm not just saying it just me, because what I do is I go around to the whole community before I go to McDonald's, I go to all other places, and I talk to people that lives in Linden, because they're my neighbors. Because I don't want to see something get up and somebody says, wow, nobody talked to us. And sure, they may not show up like they're supposed to in quantity and numbers, but I'm speaking for them, believe me. And thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anybody else here that wants, please come forward, sir?
Hi,
Hi, state your name.
Philip Radke, and I've been sworn in.
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Oh, Philip Radke, I've been sworn in.
And can you sign off?
We have a business at 1184 Bonham Avenue, and we've been there for about 8 years. And Wilson's property at that time was small, and now it's really large. And construction traffic is horrific. The dust is bad, and they're saying a 7-story silo, 72 feet. That's going to be like a 7-story building in that area. And the problem is there's so much dirt and debris on that property now, it's going to have to be shoved back to make way for this area. So it's going to all get shoved back to the east, which is going to be lots more dust and debris. And then they're even talking about putting in a concrete plant after they get their cement production plant. And I don't know if you know how toxic cement is, but it has 25 to 70% silica, which seriousness of silicon dust and deadly effects requirement, you should think about more than dust masks. It kills more people than asbestos. And that's on the American Lung Society, any of the pages like that.
So we're not here to speak about what.
I know the tower.
Yeah.
The tower, right? That's where I'm at.
Yeah. But I guess let me pause you on the dust. You're saying when they go to install the silos, that's when you're.
Well, there's just dust in general in that area. It's notorious. And the problem is that nobody was at that meeting is because it abuts a low-income housing, and I bet no one over there knows what's going on.
But this is zoned manufacturing. So
I understand that. I understand
I
that.
mean, this is a 42-acre
Right.
site.
Yeah.
So and this, where this is located is up against the, like we already identified, up against the railroad tracks. way, 700 feet away from residential, I'm not,
But the dust is very fine, so it travels. So what I would like to ask is if this could be tabled since there aren't the required number of people here.
The number of required people are here.
Oh, I thought you said it could be tabled.
no, you can't ask for table,
Oh.
the applicant can ask for
Oh.
table, sorry, I should make that clear.
Okay, didn't understand
Sorry.
that.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So question for staff related to his question. Does a concrete plant require, I mean, manufacturing seems like that'd be appropriate for a concrete plant. Does it require a special permit or no? It does, okay. But they would have to apply for that and we can make this.
There's one existing on site.
Okay, then it's good.
I'd like to speak to that.
1 second.
Let him finish.
Yeah, when we call you back up. Go ahead, sir.
I think that's all I have. Just the traffic is the one thing I'm concerned about.
Traffic where?
Just in that whole area on Bonham, on Cleveland Avenue, on 11th Avenue.
Because they're adding a 76-foot silo. That's
Well,
what-
he said they're gonna have 40 concrete trucks, like semi trucks a day coming in there.
But they already are allowed to do all that.
I
So I'm
understand,
talking
that,
about-
that's fine, I understand, I'm just saying it's gonna cause a lot of traffic issues, that's all. That's all I have.
Okay,
And Rebecca, do you want to wait to see if anybody else has comments?
Yeah, absolutely.
is there anybody else that wants to speak about this application? Okay, applicant is coming back.
Just wanted to clarify. The existing uses on the property by the property owner or his tenants may have included salvage yards, concrete plants, concrete aggregate mixing, things like that. High height storage, objectionable uses under the manufacturing district that would have required a special permit. We're not asking for a special permit. All special permits for this property have expired. Our use is permitted as of legal right. There's no mixing of the concrete. The concrete's a powder form in the silos and the domes. All of the material on the outside storage aggregate piles are sand, stone, and items that pertain to aggregate or concrete, but not mixing. So a concrete mixing plant would need a special permit and would also be considered a salvage operation. That's not what this is. We are legally permitted under a less objectionable use. So just wanted to clarify, this use will be cleaner and more conforming to code than what current operations have been or past. There are violations on the property and the permits have expired. So this is different. New buyer, new ownership, 42 acres, the whole thing's being purchased by our client. We'll clean it up. There's going to be a 3-foot landscape mound, 6-foot, 2 rows of evergreen trees on top of that mound. That is 9 feet. That's a good buffer. We've got grade change and rear setbacks on this 42 acres away from the residential, placing those domes away from residential. We're honoring the code. It's a less objectionable use and all the uses are permitted as of legal right. So just wanted to clarify, we're not going to have dust, noise, we're not going to have things, environmental hazards. In fact, we're going to clean up the property. Thank you very much.
I think that was a good clarification to concerned neighbors that this is a new operation and things should be handled differently, hopefully code compliant, all of the above. Okay, do we have any more questions for the applicant? We're ready to call the question?
I'll call the question with the
Oh, with the condition, thank you.
recommended conditions.
Mr. Maleko?
Yes.
Mr. Welding?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yeah.
Chair Palmgren?
Yes, variance granted.
Thank you.
Thank you. 3275 Sycamore Knoll Drive.
ECA 24-026 for 5275 Sycamore Knoll Drive.
It's located on the southwest side of 600 Old Drive, approximately 200 feet south of Glen Oak Drive. It's located in the Northeast Area Commission and Zone R1. The 0.91 acre site is developed with a single unit dwelling. Surrounding uses are all single unit dwellings. The applicant proposes to construct a detached garage and requesting variances to increase the total amount of allowable parking space from 720 square feet to 1,653 square feet, and to increase the maximum permitted height of garage from 15 feet to 16 feet 7 inches. Planning supports the proposed variances. Northeast Area Plan recommends garages should be located to the rear of the house. Therefore, planning supports the proposal as it is consistent with plan design guidelines. Division of Traffic Management has no comments on this application, and the Northeast Area Commission recommends approval with a vote of 6-0. Staff can recommend approval of the requested variances because they will allow the applicant to store their additional vehicles out of sight, and the proposed garage will contain a car lift necessitating the need for additional height. We are requesting conditions that the elevations will be stamped to ensure the proposed garage height is compatible with dwelling.
Okay, can you state your name, whether or not you're sworn in?
Yes, my name is Dan Kaler and I was sworn in.
Okay. Just a question for you. Do you know how big your house is, the single unit dwelling?
Square footage wise?
Yeah.
It's roughly 2,500 and it's much more if you include the finished basement, 2,500 square feet.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have a picture of the house? Like, okay.
Yeah, so the garage would be you'd just be able to see it on the other side where the cursor is there, on the other side of that Suburban.
Okay. Is that the high school behind it?
No, the high school would be to the left of that picture.
So what's that big field?
That is my neighbor's property, to the left.
The big field in back?
That is a house with, off of Sunbury Road, yeah.
Wow.
It's a rather large lot for, a residential area. It's just shy of an acre.
Yeah. It looks like, if I were to continue that driveway, it looks like it goes into an open field.
Yeah, that's my backyard.
Okay.
It might be the fence you're saying.
Yeah, there's a brown.
It's kind of chipping out.
Is there anybody here that wants to speak about this application?
I'll call a question.
Been called, let's call the roll.
Mr. Rowley?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Malika?
Yes.
Chair Pomerantz?
Yes. Variance granted.
Thank you.
Thank you. 240 West Oakland Avenue.
Okay, 240 West Oakland Avenue is located at the terminus of West Oakland Avenue, approximately 430 feet west of Neal Avenue. Site is zoned R2F residential and located within the University Area Commission. The 48-acre site is developed with the Tuttle Park Recreation Center, baseball and cricket fields, and swimming pool, as well as a 120-space parking lot that we maintain. Current uses are primarily student housing. The applicant proposes to reconstruct the swimming pool and construct a new bathhouse and mechanical building while adding 64 parking spaces. Is requesting variance to reduce the required number of parking spaces from 252 to 184. University District Plan encourages balancing parking needs with the need to preserve and enhance the walkable nature of the area. Proposal is consistent with plan guidelines and therefore supported. The Division of Traffic Management originally required a parking study, but was waived due to the existence of current zones on any potential impacted residential streets or lack of available on-street parking. I did get the recommendation from the University Area Commission. They are recommending approval. City staff would recommend approval as the Division of Traffic Management has waived the parking study due to the existence of permit zones on any potentially impacted residential streets or lack of available on-street parking. And Madam Chair, with no conditions.
Can you state your name, whether or not you were sworn in?
Sam McAdell, I was sworn in.
Okay. Go ahead with any other additional statements you want to make?
I think I just want to clarify that, the 64 parking spaces are going to be constructed on the property, but they will be by others. There's a project occurring, that's a joint project between DOSD and DPU. They're constructing that parking lot. But they will be, those spaces will be used to serve the pool. We'll just be maintaining the original 120 that's currently there.
Okay. Is there anybody here that wants to speak about this application? Do we have any other questions with the applicant? Are we ready for a question?
Call the question.
Question is being called, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Malika?
Yes.
Mr. Webley?
Yes.
Chair Paul Bailey?
Yes, variance granted, thank you.
Thank you.
412 St. Clair Avenue.
Madam Chair, board members, please note there is a new site plan that is on the PowerPoint, and then Mr. Malika has a paper copy of it. So, variance listing is not very good altered, but what you have in your packet. Having said that, 412 St. Clair Avenue is located on the east side of St. Clair Avenue, approximately 200 feet south of Atchison Street. The site is on R2F residential and is located within the Near East Area Commission. The 0.2 acre site is undeveloped. Surrounding uses include single and multi-unit dwellings. The applicant proposes to split the lot, construct two unit dwellings. Variances are being requested to reduce the required number of parking spaces, to reduce the building setback from 25 feet to 13 feet, and to reduce the minimum side yard from 5.83 feet to 3.19 feet. That code section might seem a bit peculiar to you, but that is based on the second, or the third, the building, the height of the building being taller than 2.5 stories. Otherwise, it would just be a flat. Planning division is generally supportive of the proposal, but requests additional information in the form of building elevations to ensure compatibility with the Near East Area Plan Design Guidelines. The plan states that parking needs for residential areas must be balanced with the need to maintain the historic fabric of the community. Therefore, planning supports the requested parking variance reduction. Further, planned housing design guidelines state that new designs should conform to the existing rhythm of the surrounding neighborhood. As the surrounding lots are of similar widths to the proposal, planning supports the requested lot width reduction. Planned housing design guidelines normally state that the building's front and side setbacks should be similar to those of the adjacent buildings. Therefore, staff requests that the buildings be located closer to St. Clair Avenue. The original proposal was to reduce the building setback to 20 feet. They further reduced it per plan, which is to 13. The Division of Traffic Management has no comments, and the Near East Area Commission recommends approval. City staff can recommend approval, as mentioned in the Near East Area Plan Housing Design Guidelines. Buildings front and side setback can be similar to those of adjacent buildings. Therefore, staff requests that the buildings be located close to St. Clair Avenue, which they have located as such, and can recommend approval. Madam Chair.
Okay, can you state your names and whether or not you're sworn in?
Yes, I have been sworn in, Ronald Manley.
Okay.
Yes, and my name is Leonel Hernandez.
Okay. Is there a sign-in sheet still up there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can you sign that when you get a chance, please? Okay, so two unit dwellings, reducing parking space from 42 setback. Okay, anything else you want to say about the application?
No, not at this time.
So are those garages in the back?
Yes.
Okay. Good.
So a question about the change from 20 feet to 13. Graphically, it didn't change on the drawing. Where is that picking up the space?
I meant to ask that. I got the email from Mr. Manley. Do you know what he's talking about? This distance from the setback to the right of way is 12 feet, but then it looks like that's not 25 feet. It looks like it's about 5. So the graphic when you submit will have to be different, but as long as that measurement is correct, we'll get that.
Yes.
So
Bit of copy and paste.
So you did, the property was moved closer to St. Clair.
Say that again?
The properties were moved, the buildings.
Buildings were
closer to St.
yeah.
Clair.
If you see the 2 flanking buildings, that was our guy. And that's what they matched him up with.
Yes.
On the,
These?
yeah.
The
that
existing
line
buildings
right
on
there.
yeah.
That's what they're gonna match the new tower.
Is there anybody here that wants to speak about this application? Seeing no one coming forward. You ready for the question?
Call the question.
Question's been called, please call the roll.
Mr. Malika?
Yes.
Mr. Longley?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Chair Paul Bailey?
Yes, bears granted.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, can we take a quick break?
Yeah, we're gonna take 5 minutes hygiene break.
See the look on your face. And I think I saw it, I need water.
There.
Okay. Some sort of capacity of, pursuing variance, but, I figured. I'll take a minute.
Oh, there you go.
No, we're still in the second.
Yeah, we're on break.
Right.
Doesn't need to do anything, that's right.
Yeah, that's just informational. I want to show you the difference between what was, in your package. That actually was a Erie's, recommendation. Yeah. Well, no, not struck for it, but to switch the second, they were mirrored. Now they are grouped. They're not.
Yes, they weren't like that.
It was planning as a recommendation, but they
We're kind of back here in this. But you know, it's interesting that it, well, again, the original graphic showed it the same.
Yeah.
They showed it, right?
Yeah.
It's went
Oh, wait, no, that's what I gave you.
before.
No, that is yours. Oh, I did get it. Yeah. Right.
It doesn't.
But here, I caught the same thing when we sent it to you yesterday after we sent it.
Yeah, so this dimension says 100 feet.
Oh, it does? Okay, well, then that's a problem. That's a reference. Okay. It's still, there's no way that's like.
Okay.
But yeah, when I said this, I think just like, did I change that number? But it's weird, but this one too. Buildings. So I. Cause I asked. Yeah.
You have just, you never. I would never see it.
Okay, for the free.
I went down there. I think, he advised us to look at, there was 3%. That's one we'll cover. Should have been, you know. Yeah. Life, and I think it's on this.
Yes. I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, they started walking back there.
Yeah, wow. This will be fun. Take a break, have some.
Yeah.
Sometimes people are getting over.
I like it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It might be through problems and comfort.
Yeah.
Thinking nobody's going to hit you.
Again, it comes to.
Yeah. Well, and by the way, I get your
Aesthetics.
Does it concrete back? Yes, it does. I realize that. She's like, oh, well, that's.
Yeah, breaking up.
Oh, I was gonna say. I don't want to say.
Transparent.
Yeah. Or.
Back.
Say no.
I agree. Oh, yeah. I've done it. One day.
The same. Right, they did have, so they probably.
Get that same thought as us.
What they wanted.
Will they be ordered? Yeah. That was I think. I'm looking at these ones.
I remember those.
Yeah, I guess it's not, they don't really have it now. Yeah, most of the orders don't have.
Well, the last. This Peg's here. She was paid, so he helped with his week before they come off. I don't think so.
Absolutely. That's why I'm.
But this is her.
Well, it's a longer. Yeah, not just a change in use, trying to expand some do different things. So it wasn't a big. And so, yeah, I don't have to call her.
Thank you so much.
Building property and I'm for those on it. I just, I would guess the sites. Nice. So.
We usually, I know.
Well, his brother went to high school with the same. And I actually, he says, when I show how. That's just, I do. No, I've seen it in this.
Right, right.
Yeah, I was thinking, I was under butter. And it was like 3 or 4 minutes.
Where?
And train next to 2 or 3.
Y'all ready?
I like
Lay around.
oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's getting.
Like what's our?
Yes, please. Okay, we are going to resume.
Like the ones I use.
And call up.
Oh. Are we ready?
Yep,
Snuffer?
1945 Snowford Road.
PCA 24-029 for 1945 Snowford Road, located on the south side of Snowford Road between Lindworth and Shetland Street. It's located in the far northwest coalition, zone R1. The 0.7 acre site is developed with a single unit dwelling, starting use to all single unit dwellings. The applicant proposes to construct a 22 by 24 detached garage and requesting variances to reduce the building setback for garage from 35 feet to 12.8 feet along Snowford, and to increase the total amount of allowed garage space from 720 square feet to 1,104 square feet. Plan supports the requested variances. The Northwest plan states that blank walls should not be presented as primary streets. The existing screening is consistent with these guidelines. The division of traffic management requested right-of-way dedication of 50 feet from centerline of Snowford Road and 40 feet from centerline of Lindworth Road. Dedication exception has been requested, which I believe was granted today. The Far Northwest Coalition recommends approval with a vote of 4-0. And staff can recommend approval of requested variances because the proposed garage will utilize the existing slab that they park on, and the proposed garage will be screened from Snowford Road.
Can you state your name, whether you were sworn?
Sean McNeil, yes, I have.
You have been?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have anything else to add about this application?
Not really. I mean, the homeowner has an attached garage and that's why we're asking for the size variance. And it is in an area where they park the car. I think they have like a shed / carport thing in that area now. So you just build it and make it a garage rather than.
Can you speak?
They want to enclose it and that's kind of why we're putting it in that same location and everything.
Do you have any questions for the applicant? Is there anybody here that wants to speak about this application? Okay. Any more questions or ready?
Call the question.
Questions been called, please call the roll.
Mr. Weatherly?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Malacca?
Yes.
Chair Paul Bailey?
Yes, variance granted, thank you.
Thank you.
5442 Sunbury Road.
Well, that might reach over here. I don't like this one. And they use it, they.
Too loud.
What is on? Or they just talk loud for some reason.
You'll put this one.
Sorry, I'll get it.
That one, I'll get this.
You get lights in a fog machine?
Disco. Why did that just, it's not even, oh, that's not, it's not even plugged in. Why is it?
Yeah, I unplugged it.
I meant the one you put over there. Okay, sorry about that.
Okay, 5442 Sunbury Road is located on the east side of Sunbury Road, approximately 500 feet southwest of Big Walnut View Drive. The site is zoned R rural and is located in the Northland community. Site is developed with a religious facility. Surrounding uses are single unit residential to the north and west and undeveloped parcels to the south and east. The applicant proposes to expand an existing parking lot. Variances are being requested to reduce the total combined side yards from 32 feet to 29 feet. The Northland Plan Volume 2 recommends that future redevelopment or rezoning of parcels currently zoned in Columbus adhere to the Northland development standards. As such, the Northland's development standards state that lot coverage should not exceed 80%. In addition, the Northland development standards recommend appropriate buffering take into consideration the proportional size of neighboring parcels, the existing scale of development, as well as site planning characteristics. Planning supports the proposal and encourages buffering between residential and non-residential uses, does not condition support of this addition. Division of Traffic Management has no comments, and the Northland representative is here. I'll let them address their comments. City staff can recommend approval as the proposal is to legitimize existing conditions. Additionally, staff notes that the expansion and reconfiguration of the parking lot will be code compliant and adhere to the Northland and area plan design guidelines. Madam Chair.
Can you state your names when you're sworn in?
David Hodge, attorney for the applicant, and I have been sworn.
Pastor Brian Dalkey, applicant, I have been sworn in.
Thought it was a very thorough staff report, and we'll, I think, stand aside and let you all hear from Mr. Paul and come back and answer any questions.
Okay.
It's almost not worth your getting up.
State your name for the record, please.
Yes, Dave Paul. I chair the Northland Community Council Development Committee. We met with Attorney Hodge and his client on March 27. The proposal to us seems an improvement on the site, addresses screening from the public right-of-way appropriately, does not appear to cause any problems with adjoining properties otherwise, and so we were unanimously in support of the application, 14-0. Any questions? I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you. Is anybody else here to speak about the application? I don't have any other questions. We don't see a lot of increases in parking. So.
Growing congregation, that's a good sign.
Right. Okay. Are you ready to call the question?
I'll call a question.
Question being called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Malacca?
Yes.
Mr. Walmsley?
Yes.
Chair Paul Craylon?
Yes. Variance granted. Thank you.
Thank you.
2101, 2103 Avalon Place.
Twenty-one through 2103 Avalon Place is located on the south side of Avalon Place, approximately 15 feet west of Ross Avenue. Site is zoned R4 residential and is located within the North Central Area Commission. The site is undeveloped. Sites are undeveloped. Surrounding uses are a mix of single multi-unit dwellings to the northeast and west and Interstate 670 to the south. The applicant proposes to develop 4 vacant parcels with 4 two-unit dwellings. The west adjacent remaining 2 parcels, 010-043374 and 010-038191, do not require a parking setback variance because the 10-foot, well, I think it's a little complicated. This is Adam's case. There you go. So what's going on here is typically we have a building that requires parking. These people want to put parking in front, which for this site here requires a parking variance. However, because of this right of way, This site can use this existing setback, which is 10 feet, as their parking setback. Parking setback chapter says that the minimum parking setback will be 25 feet, but in no case less than 10. Because this building setback establishes a 10-foot parking setback, these 4 parking spaces by right can be located here. However, these, because of this right of way again, are subject to 25-foot building setback and parking setback. So that's kind of.
But they want it to be all the same.
What do you mean all the same?
This applicant wants the
Well,
parking
these
setback.
are technically not subject to this variance application. These are allowed by right.
Well, I'm saying.
He wants symmetry.
What's
He wants
symmetry,
yeah.
why is that this variance?
So staff consistently recommends disapproval for variances that result in parking vehicles inside of required front yards. So we are recommending disapproval.
Wait, so this is the front yard and the rear
Yeah.
at the bottom?
Correct.
So you're saying there's available space in the rear?
Actually, I believe one of our traffic engineers designed access to parking in the rear. Do you have a copy of that yet?
For all the property?
Kevin?
I don't have a copy of it.
It would still require variance.
Yeah, it would do.
Alleviate having parking in front. You remember how it looked?
Yeah, we provided a layout that showed an access drive between the 2 buildings on the parcel, require them to be split apart from the center of what the proposed lot lines would be. And then to provide parking in the rear via a single access drive for each set of structures. Providing a single access point for each of those 2 buildings. There were some other issues for the site design, I think, that were imposed because of that as well. That's why we relented and provided our approval for this land.
So, I mean, we've been down this path in the past couple of months. So you're telling me that there's a way for them to park in the back? And we said, no, you don't have to. Because what?
Well, hold on, that's only for these here.
Yeah,
These guys, they don't have to, so they don't have to.
But it's still in the front of the house.
Sorry?
It's still in the front of the house, right?
Well, I just told you why. These are allowed by right,
But how?
but these are not.
Yeah, but if, I guess what I hear Mr. Jones saying, without saying it, is if we were to say no to the 2 on the right, that would force them, they wanted symmetry, like they say, to put the other 2 on the left and the back as well.
Correct,
Even
yes.
though by right, they could put it in the front, but.
I thought you were asking me how is this allowed by right?
No.
Okay, I understand.
Well, I kind of do want to know, but you don't have to explain it because we consistently say don't park in the front yard, but you're saying it's allowed.
I know it's allowed
Wait,
because they have this structure that's right there that then creates an exception to the rule that says, okay, and you can now put it in, even with the structure that's there.
Correct.
Because they have that break, you can't apply it to the 2 on the right.
I get it, and I'm not on board.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, can you state your names and whether or not you were sworn in?
Yeah, I'm Cody Rogers and I was sworn in.
My name's Mark Olson and I've been sworn in.
Okay, who's gonna speak?
I will.
Okay, go ahead.
So yeah, appreciate you explaining that and the difference between those 2 lots. So we put a good bit of consideration into trying to make that rear parking work with Daniel Moorhead's input. But we did find that with the parking screens required and the lots only being 31 feet wide, we can't achieve the amount of the maneuverability that we need for the cars to access the rear and maneuver and park. So that is why we continued with that front fronted parking pad. And yes, there are other addresses on that street that also utilize front parking. So we were just matching that precedent for those 2 lots on the left there. And then our statement of hardship was essentially that grassy easement there was breaking the precedent.
It's
It
breaking
is
what?
breaking the precedent.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So there's no access to these properties from the rear?
There's a highway there, and yeah.
So you would have to have access through the property to get to the back?
Correct, between those buildings, so that would leave us with 10 feet. We'd also probably need to add bollards to prevent vehicle strikes on the buildings. So just some context, these 4 structures are land bank owned lots, and we're producing affordable housing units with in conjunction with the Affordable Housing Trust and the land bank. So we try and keep our pro forma as low as possible on it. So to add that rear parking, which our finding was we were unable to. But even in the event we could, the pro forma wouldn't really work, for either entity.
Can you take a Google, I want to see all these other houses that have parking in the front.
Yeah.
Certainly. What's the address again? 403
And Kevin, so I'm clear, you said it can be done.
We designed a layout that would show that it can be done, but it, like the applicants indicated, it requires the buildings to move, which changes some of the elements of their design. That's why they were not interested in pursuing that.
Correct. We would need to fire rate each side, and we also weren't able to figure out where to put the condensing units for HVAC. So we wouldn't have space between the fences, also parking screening, and those condensing units.
So, and I don't see any parking in front.
2063 is the adjacent lot. There it is on the actually foremost lot. That White House right there. Yeah, you see that van parked out front there? There you go. So we have some, this is the adjacent property, and that field there is our
He
proposed.
made that up, that's not code compliant. Yeah, so I don't think there's any precedent for people parking in front.
Okay, do we see?
So is there street parking?
Yes.
This is street parking, community.
Oh, yeah, yes, ma'am.
So,
We did one the other day over here. We did another guy who was building two families, I think. A block or so over. But this right of way,
yeah, this doesn't seem to be,
the precedent.
It's a continuation of Ross Alley. They just never developed it.
no, but this doesn't seem to be a street that has these parking pads in the front of houses in this area right now.
Oh, I see.
So-
The north, oh, it's not the north line, it's north central.
So, Kevin, with right of ways like this, I sometimes refer to them as vacated alleys. We've seen in some cases where those are vacated and ultimately given to one half to one property owner, the other half to the other property owner. Is that something possible? And I know you can't say yes, but
Yeah, they could pursue that. There's no guarantee that the city would just vacate. This would have to go through the land review commission, and there's processes that would have to be undergone to determine if it can be vacated or not. It could be required to purchase the right of way. So it's not necessarily a guarantee that they would just receive the right of way since they own both sides of that. But that is a process they could pursue if they.
But let me ask the question, that access goes nowhere, right? Because it's the highway back there.
go to the back of their,
No, but I mean, there's no street that it's going to.
right.
So technically, they could park there if they wanted to. As street parking, no, I'm talking about the street
You mean
parking.
in front?
On the side of the house.
Yeah.
In the grass
It's,
there.
well, no, it's unimproved.
Oh, it's
right,
unimproved.
but Yeah,
Gotcha.
we call it paper alley. So it's
I
right of way, but it's not improved with any type of,
I didn't know it was unimproved.
yeah.
That's what that red says in the middle, it's too hard to see.
Oh.
But again, it seems like if there's land banked on either side, that the city has vested interest.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, they can always,
Expedite an application.
yeah, you can always make that case to the land review commission. They have to provide, from the cases I've dealt with before, they have to provide sufficient proof that they're providing value that offsets the value of that property to the city. So if they could do that, then it's possible they could receive that, but.
Us saying no to this, I think would have an impact. I'm not saying I want to say no, I want to find a solution for you, but what you're asking to do is not what we do. So,
Yeah, and I haven't been shown evidence that this community supports that, like that this is something that happens on the street. And so you're not gonna be the odd man out,
Yeah, but
putting pavers down in front of the house and having
Mhm.
4 blocks of cars.
We did run this traffic or the parking arrangement by the actual neighborhood civic association, and they unanimously supported it. And then that then goes on to the local area commission, who also unanimously supported it. So they were okay with it. But yeah, I can see what you're saying
They
about
approved it because this was the only way for them to get affordable housing.
that seems to be the only way we can get this density on that property.
it's a big ask, and the one that we did a couple of months ago, and maybe you can, since it's in the same area, maybe we can get on board with it. It was definitely 43219, last name Bryson. He was putting two families, the exact same thing. And we said, okay, on at least one of them, but he owned all of the other things. Like we're looking at this building on the end. He owned everything else to the end. So he wasn't impeding anybody. And there was another owner, of this land. If you could like get me to that, I could try this. Otherwise, I'm a hard no.
You know when it was, what,
But like 2 months ago.
February.
It wasn't, I know I chaired last month and you were here.
Yeah, I think it was February, man.
I think it was, I think he's referring to BZA 23013, was 1965 Margaret.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to.
Yeah. That's one of mine.
Well, I was looking for that. Is there anybody here that wants to speak about this application?
Can I add some?
Sure.
So I believe putting parking in the back actually causes more hardships than what we've talked about. We would have to move the buildings closer to the property line, meaning we would have to fire rate those walls, which inherently is a bigger risk to the building tenants or owners. Your parking would be perpendicular to the lot, so your headlights would be shining into the neighbors' yards. You would have to get a variance to have your parking closer than the 4 feet required by zoning. So I think there's more than just we want to put parking in.
No, I'm not, I guess I'm saying if there's street parking,
Give a variance for parking to 0.
right?
That might be what we did. That might be what we did.
Do we want to see the site plan for this or the board orders? What do we?
I think the site plan.
Gotcha.
And again, I appreciate you talking about money and hardship and all of that, but that's not our problem, that's yours. Right, we're here to, we don't want to create something that you're the only one on the street now, the next 5 people want to do the same thing. So I remember the situation where we did something similar applicant, and I want to see how we did that, and if we did it in the same way, I'd be inclined, especially if it's in the same area, I'd be inclined to say yes, so.
This was a reduction. I believe the parking was just to reduce it to 0.
I think that's what we did, was reduce
by no parking.
Yeah, because that was their main thing. Yeah, 4 to 0. And that was approved, a reduction of parking from 4 spaces to 0 spaces.
But we only did that for him because it was the end of the block. It was like, he wasn't impacting anybody else, or he owned the other person that would be impacted, if you remember.
Yeah, he owned,
Right, that's
like everything to the west, if I remember correctly.
And that's why we were okay with that. And that's in that same general area. Margaret and Avalon, they're all in the same.
But yeah, I guess my only other comments were, those 2 parcels to the left, we're setting our parking setback based on the setback of the home to the left. So within the way the zoning code is written, we're in compliance with the front parking position the way it is. It just happens that the precedent there doesn't carry over because of that right of way. I don't know if seems like the intent of the zoning code is still being upheld here by matching what we're doing on the left, which we know has been approved by zoning already. So those have been applied for and they passed through zoning through under plan review now. But it's just, it seemed to be okay with Ms. Palmer.
Well, you guys had a workaround. You had a lucky set of circumstances because of that building. That's all.
Well, the parking setback is set based on the home setback, which is then can be applied, it can be set by the home adjacent to it. So it defaults to 25 feet, and then unless there's another home, like you said, that's a little closer to the road, which most of the homes on that street are close to the road, enable us to do that. So I guess my thought is that my final comment is that we seem to be in compliance with the way the code is written. It's just where that right of way seems to prevent us from being able to apply the zoning code here.
Yeah.
Can we hear from the gentleman who wants to speak about this application?
Yeah, my name is Matt Snyder. I've been sworn in. If you look at it, 2143 Avalon, it's also has front parking. There's many properties over there that have front parking. They're peppered all around. And I'd like to clarify, it's not the parking setback of the adjacent property that sets precedence. It's the location of the building itself. The building is 10 foot.
Park setback is determined by the building setback.
Yeah. But it's not that there's parking in front of that building, it's that the building is 10 foot from the. Mhm.
What's your role in all of
Who knew
this?
that? It was a building.
Oh, I'm a co-developer with these gentlemen.
Okay.
Can you sign in, please?
Yes,
So there's,
if you looked at
so.
2143 Avalon Place, it's just another representation of a house there that has parking in the front.
So 20,
143. Yeah, that one right there the other way,
Right.
towards the interstate behind you.
yeah, been looking at it.
Oh, go the other way, I'm sorry.
That's not parking in front of the building.
Do you want me to
Yeah.
look at this?
Go backwards, just turn around. There you go.
I mean, that looks like a abandoned driveway. It should go to the rear. What's the area?
Is the house blocking the driveway to go to the back?
There's no,
No.
Yeah.
Tree.
So I mean, there's no impediment, so it just didn't go all the way. So that's not really parking in the front. They could be cited for an unimproved surface, I guess. You know, where a driveway should be. So that's not parking in front. There's a big difference. You're talking about a structure and you're parking directly in front of the structure. These have driveways and they're intended to go beyond the house.
Mm-hmm. And also I'd like to add that the alley is not something that we could take on. There's parcels behind that I'm not sure who owns it, so that alley.
Parcels behind what we saw.
There are parcels. There's 4 right there.
I thought you said it back to the highway.
It does back to the highway, but there are some, as you can see there, parcels. That's why there's an alley there, an easement to access them. I don't know if maybe what's it called, the signs on the highway company buys that land and put a sign there, that type of thing.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, that site you referenced, they're actually parking illegally in the right of way as well. That's a right of way that has
Okay.
an access return on it. It's not private property.
Yeah, well, I'm just showing out, I mean, all along the street there, you see people parked in front.
But we don't. You're comparing apples to oranges. We see people that are in front of the building setback line maybe, but they have a driveway that goes all the way back. So again, in an effort to try to make this work.
And I just also wanted to bring to light, I mean, we could build the 2 houses and then build the other 2 houses, and then precedence would be set.
No, to the right of way.
Oh, okay. Well, so I always thought we could. I mean, it just seems silly that there's a right of way preventing the construction for all 4, but.
The
Well,
right
you're
of way
only-
not being able to be used, seems like it.
Thank you for letting me speak, and I just want to remind, this has been approved by the Columbus City Land Bank and the Affordable Housing Trust, and I don't know if there's some elevations or anything, you have attachments that show the building. I mean, it's
Yeah, but they can't
They
approve
can't approve
this.
this.
That's the problem.
okay, thank you.
No, thank you.
Can somebody go back to the street so I can see like what's the impact if we go to 0 parking?
Maybe we want to look at the second question for.
Yes.
Could you gentlemen sign in?
Yeah.
Signed in.
And I'll be honest with you, and I don't know how feasible this is. I'd almost feel better if, you know, how in the downtown area, we have lanes that have been like curved in, so you can park on the street. But if you go to the intersection, it's like pavement and side. You know what I'm saying?
Like on Brighton Road, they just did that.
Yeah, so like, I would even feel better seeing something like that rather than just 8 cars. Because that's what we're really talking about, a parking lot in front of these buildings.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the question for you guys. You see, the objection here is the aesthetics of the neighborhood. That's why we have code that says you're not to be parking in front, and you're talking for the 4 spots, 4 cars in front of 2 buildings. That's a lot.
What if we reduced it to 2 in front of each one? Less medical between that.
Well, we can't do anything. They're not asking for,
That's right.
they're not asking for the 2 on the left. They're only asking for the 2 on the right. Because they can do that.
So I think staff would still recommend disapproval of this fire.
standing tradition of saying no parking in the front yard.
So just to be clear, the city's already saying, no, we're here reconsidering it.
Right.
Okay.
Would you be more interested if we table this and considering a reduction of parking too, or some type of alley? Like you had suggested, I have to look into that, but.
Is there any plan, do you guys know about any plan to put curbs? This area has suffered from not even having curbs. Do you know anything about that?
I don't know of a plan at this point that's proposed for this area. These neighborhoods are looked at regularly to try to determine hierarchy or ranking for projects such as that. I just don't know where this lands on that.
And so if we did a parking reduction to 2, they're still deficient 2, right? But there's only 2 more or 4 more cars total on the street. And fortunately for everybody else, they have driveways. They have a place to park. I think I'd be okay. What did I just say here? All the other places have driveways, so they're not burdened with having to park on the street. If we reduced everything to 0 and said you could park on the street, I don't think you're burdening the neighborhood. And I think we addressed kind of your hardship. I'd be okay with that. Going to 0 and letting them park in
But
the
that's
neighborhood.
that's a tabling request.
Yeah, that's up to them, but I'm telling you, I'm a no. You could try with the rest of these folks.
I understand. Yeah, I think our move would be to table then.
Well, okay. Can we have a motion to,
I so move that we table this.
is there a second?
Second.
We accept the applicant's request to table it, is the proper motion. They have to request.
Oh, we accept your request for tabling.
All right, thanks for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Maleka?
Yeah.
Mr. Walkley?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Sarah Palmville?
Yes. Okay. 3592 Corporate Drive. Can you sign in, sir?
Yes.
Here.
3592 Corporate Drive is located on the north side of Corporate Drive, approximately 1,130 feet east of Westerville Road. It's located in the Northland Community Council and zoned M2. The 3.5 acre site is developed with a school. Surrounding uses include multi-tenant manufacturing buildings to the west and south, and State Route 161 to the north and on-ramp to the west. The applicant proposes to construct a gymnasium addition to the existing school and is requesting variance to reduce the building setback along State Route 161 from 50 feet to 20 feet. Planning supports this variance request as it is consistent with Northland 1 area plan design guidelines. Staff encourages the applicant to consult with the city forester on the addition of 3 trees along Corporate Drive to help mitigate the potential loss of mature trees in the rear of the proposed gymnasium. Division of Traffic Management has no comments on this application. The Northland Community Council recommends approval with a vote of 14-0. And staff can recommend approval of the requested variance because any sizable addition to the structure would require a setback variance. Proposed layout will have the least impact on the existing parking for the property while still providing enough gymnasium space for the school. Madam Chair.
Okay. Can you state your name, whether you were sworn in?
Ali Al Gothani, and I'm an engineer on behalf of Star Consultants and on behalf of the owner. I already sworn in.
Okay. Do you have anything to add to this application?
Not really, except there is no impact really. It's against the highway, and the highway is, or the ramp into the highway 161. And it is a distance of almost 150 feet away, far away. So, and the gymnasium is very needed for the school. The school currently doesn't have any gymnasium activity. It is a high school, and the kids just wants to compete against others.
Okay. Is there anybody here who wants to speak about the application? Please come forward.
Once again, Dave Paul, Chair of the Northland Community Council Development Committee, and I have been sworn. We met with Mr. Agathani and his client on March 27th of this year, discussed this application. We felt that this was entirely appropriate in terms of creating a space for gymnasium associated with this school. We did not see any issues with its reduced setback from 161. The committee voted 14-0, so unanimously to recommend approval. We did suggest to the applicant that they provide a site plan and commit to the location of dedicated parking spaces. They're not actually shown on this drawing or any of the materials that were given to us. He was trying to simplify the application, but we did feel that it was appropriate to know where those spaces would be. He's assured us that they will be compliant with the code. We just had to take his word for that since we didn't have a site plan that showed. But that was not a condition of our support, and so we did recommend approval of the application.
And then when he goes to get the next level of approvals, that site plan will be.
It's already been reviewed by the city of Columbus, even building permit now been submitted and the CC drawing has been submitted.
Okay.
The number of parking spaces meet the code or
Okay.
even exceeds. So, but just for simplicity, really, I did not show the
Good.
parking spaces there.
That's fine. It's not a condition of our approval either. Okay. Is there anybody else that wants to speak about this application?
Thank you.
Do we have any questions for the applicant?
Call the question.
Questions been called, please call the roll.
Mr. Webley?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Malcolm?
Yes.
Mayor Pompeo?
Yes, variance granted. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
3912 Cliff Ridge Court.
Thirty-nine twelve Cliff Ridge Court is located on the northeast corner of Cliff Ridge Court, Cliff Ridge Drive and Cliff Ridge Court. It is in the Northland Community Council and it's zoned PUD 8. The 0.21 acre site is developed with a single unit residence. Surrounding uses are all single unit residential. The applicant proposes to legitimize an existing deck and is requesting a variance to reduce the required rear yard setback from 25% to 8%. Planning has no comment as the Northland 1 area plan does not address this matter. The Division of Traffic Management has no comments on this application. The Northland Community Council recommends approval with a vote of 12-0. Staff can recommend approval because the subject parcel is located on a corner and because of the orientation of the house, they have a significantly smaller rear yard. Chair.
Okay, can you state your name when that you were sworn in?
Nawar Hamadi. Nawar Hamadi.
Gotcha. Were you sworn in?
Yes, ma'am.
You were? Okay. Go ahead with your testimony.
So, can my wife, she help me with the, I'm trying to do my best, but if you don't understand.
You can come up.
So I just bought the house, I do the concrete, I have no clue. I just bought the house like that with everything. I bought it from like mortgage, and I just add the concrete to make it look nice because that's where I'm come from, and do the driveway. And the city came and they said, you have 2 feet, stuff like that. But I bought the house
You
like
bought the
that.
house with
I
the
didn't do anything.
deck already there.
Yeah, I didn't do anything. Only the concrete I did.
Okay. And so the second. And so you have a wood deck that goes in the front, the side, and the back.
Mhm.
3 different sections, I'm gonna call it.
Mhm.
It's all one piece.
It's all one piece.
I'm curious, what did the HOA say?
I don't think there
We
is.
don't have any
HOA.
choice.
There is an HOA, but they're not.
Hold on, ma'am. Yeah, that's right. We can ask you to come up and speak on the record.
I think most planned unit developments have HOAs.
So it expired, in the deed.
Can you,
I don't know.
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, can you say your name for the
Tara
record, whether you
Becker.
were sworn in?
Yes, it was.
What's your name?
Tara Becker.
Okay, go ahead.
There used to be, an HOA which had expired many years ago, and so now the community they have a community committee, and they kind of just go on that. There isn't anything formal there.
Do you have HOA fees that you pay?
No, there's no HOA.
Not even annually?
No, there's not. This neighborhood was built back in, I think it was late eighties, nineties, something, early nineties. And in the deed restrictions and stuff that we received, it stated in there that their, I guess their bylaws renew every 10 years. As long as nobody agrees or disagrees, but there is no paying HOA. And that was, because that was verified by the title company and stuff when he closed on the house.
Okay, thank you.
So have you gotten complaints from neighbors? Have you talked to neighbors?
So what happened is that the concrete, we came down here to the city with a site plan showing that we wanted to put the sidewalks and widen the driveway. And we was also gonna put a fence in. We came down, we talked, and they told us we didn't need anything, we didn't need any permits or anything like that. All we needed the permit for was that entryway at the bottom of the driveway, because that belongs to the city there. And so we paid for the permit for that. But when we started that, somebody filed a complaint because we were expanding our driveway. So the city came out, and then he came out and said, oh, you guys built a deck. But we didn't build the deck. The deck's been there since, I think they originally asked for the variance because they built that deck. And the original owners.
Yes, honors.
There's the variance on this already?
Yes, there was a variance already that was granted back in, I think Crystal told me the 1989, 1990. Yes.
So it's already approved?
And so, but they built it, the deck was built 3 feet wider than the original variance.
That's it?
Yeah, yes. And so then they told us that we had to go through this variance process. And I didn't understand why, because we didn't build the deck. The deck and stuff was already there. They had that previous variance. The only reason that they found out that I guess it is wider is because it used to be hidden by trees that were all the way around it. And the management company that flipped the house took down all of those trees, took down most of the trees. And then when we purchased the house, we took down the rest of the dead trees that were surrounding that deck. And then because the basement had a lot of leakage, we rounded it with concrete and stuff to take all of that problem away. And so that's where the complaint about the variance came into play and stuff. And then we had paid because they told us if you're expanding the driveway, then it's gonna be, just pay for the expansion. She said, that way you don't have to worry about if you decide to rent this house in the future or you sell it, because someone's gonna wanna park on that side right there. Because we keep our trash and our recycling there to take it down, and she's like, someone's gonna wanna park there, so just pay for the expansion. So we did, and then they credited that back to us because she was like, you gotta get a variance adjustment and you gotta get building permits and stuff.
And who's this person?
Crystal from down,
City?
from here, yeah, Crystal, Jose, and I think Diane is someone that we work with.
Front counter staff.
Yeah. I mean,
So this is okay, everything that she's told him, or?
we've spent 4 hours downstairs in your lobby talking to various people. And I can't remember his name. I'm gonna say his name was Brandon from building, who had originally told us that we didn't need any permits for the deck because it had been there already.
So can we go back to the picture of the deck and the concrete? What's our orientation here? Help me.
This is the backyard?
Yeah, that's the backyard. Yes, that's our backyard.
Here this way.
Yeah, that comes out, the back door is right there.
So that's the neighbor's fence?
Yeah, that's the neighbor's fence, yes, that separates the property. Because there used to be trees and stuff there that was growing over that fence into their yard from the previous owner.
So I understand now. So I think I do. So the deck was approved in theory by variance before. And now we have this expanded concrete area, which takes up more backyard or lot coverage. Is that right?
No, it's just the deck.
No, I mean, this concrete walkway I'm seeing.
This is taking up.
It's taking up space.
So they said that area right there, that 31.5 is wider than the variance that was requested. When I submitted those measurements right there, That's when they said, this is over the previous variance that was granted.
What was the granted? 28?
It's 3 feet less than what that is. Yeah, it's about 3 feet less than what that was.
But for the concrete.
No, it's from she said it was, that deck is too wide.
Okay.
She said the deck is too wide.
Okay, so let me hear from, Smedley here, who's looking up something.
Looking through our records that I can access with my phone, zoning permits, the only things that I see active are, residential zone clearance filed late, or about mid last year, which is probably this project, which was caught, and then, this application. There are a bunch of, code violations, and I believe, what she's talking about is, one of the violations is for, work without a permit, which would have been the previous owners in 22, the house flippers who were starting off the deck and everything.
So you can't find evidence of a variance.
I do not see anything in these records for previous variance. And I searched back to 94.
Yeah, so because Crystal had sent me an email, because I was going back and forth with Crystal on a lot of this, and she had sent the picture of the variance that had been previously done.
Can you send it? Can you vote?
I don't have it anymore.
We didn't, this conversation didn't happen before now. We're not, you as staff weren't aware of this, all of these back and forth with city staff about.
No, I was not included on any of that.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not unhappy with the deck. I'm not.
Yeah, I don't, the picture doesn't give me anything to weigh in on. Like, I'm looking at here and it doesn't seem to be a problem, but these pictures are very close. Like, so I'm not getting, I'm not getting depth.
And the lot coverage, that's the only part that gives me a little bit of concern.
I can't follow what's.
Going down to 8%.
That's just a rear yard.
Well, that's pretty significant.
And so all this concrete that's poured, that's reducing the yard too, right?
The rear yard is,
Like if I'm looking at these,
that's the little.
like I'm looking at these pictures,
The concrete wouldn't count.
concrete doesn't do that? Okay.
This is what is considered the rear yard.
Oh,
Oh, behind the house?
Yes.
Okay.
even though they have two,
And so that wood deck right there is the only thing infringing on it. So.
that's it?
It's already less than 25%. Yeah.
Yeah, so the only thing in question is that wood deck at the very top.
Correct. That is the only spot that the variance applies to.
Okay. Does anybody else?
All this other
speak about this? Okay. Sir and ma'am, I'll let you decide who wants to come first.
I'm the next door neighbor.
You go ahead.
Oh, yeah, you come.
Come on.
Okay.
Can we make a way?
I don't need a mic. I got a big mouth. And I want to apologize for speaking
That's all
out.
right.
I really do.
State your name and whether or not you were sworn in.
I was sworn in. My name is Rita Green.
Okay.
My husband Marcus is back in the back.
Okay.
But that deck was not like that originally.
When you say originally, what do you mean?
we've been the only homeowner for the house next door where the fence is.
Okay, so the prior owners put that fence on, I mean, the deck up.
Mr. Tom, who passed away probably about 5 years ago, he put the original deck up, but, and it wasn't all the concrete. Didn't bother us at all. It was on his side of the yard, getting it, come over to ours or anything else. Then a company bought it, sold it again to the house flippers that you were talking about. They went and put all that deck and everything up, and they added it. They made it a little bit wider on the step part, and then they wrapped it around to the front. Still, we have no problem with it. They bought the home. They put the concrete down. They did come and talk to us and everything. We have no problem as long as it's over there and it doesn't impede on our property, because he did at one time ask if he could put the concrete over to our property, and we said absolutely not. So, I mean, he was thinking about putting up poles or something, I don't know. But as long as it doesn't go any further, because I have pictures which you can't see, but I mean, you can't see on here, but it's only probably about 30 inches between our fence, and the only reason we kept that little piece of fence up is, as they stated, there were a lot of trees that started off as seedlings, but over the last 34 years, they became humongous. And we left that there because it came all into our yard and everything else. We have no problem if that's as far as it goes. If they just leave that 31 inches that's there, we have no problem with it at all. So, you know, the deck was there. The only thing they did is they added the concrete. We're fine with it as long as we can be guaranteed that it's not going to come over anymore, because, you know, if somebody has to dig, do anything like that over there, you know, is that going to get in the way? But other than that, I don't think we have any problem with it at all.
Thank you for the testimony.
Question for staff.
Oh, and, excuse me, an HOA, we do have an HOA. They do have an HOA president, but they don't force down on the
But
fees.
how are they,
There's a,
if you don't have fees, then?
there is a fee that they ask you to pay every year,
So that's voluntary.
but it's a voluntary fee. So they're not real strict. They used to be at one time, but it became, people come in, live for 5 years, move out, live. One of the originals that were there, so,
Thank
but that's fine.
Thank you.
So I have a question for staff.
Move on.
I thought this whole thing we're up in arms about is all this concrete and all this deck.
Yeah, I did too.
And so my concern is, if I were to look at this again and not have the benefit of this conversation, I'd be up in arms about that. I think we should do something, because that little 31-inch deck or whatever you just showed me would not give us any concern. We would clearly, I'm speaking for my colleagues, but I'm sure we would approve that. But it's all this other stuff. And let's say he wants to put up, you know, a sidewalk. Then all this other stuff comes up again, and we don't have any evidence of or support. Like, I don't know the lady that she mentioned, but she's saying, oh, this other stuff was already permitted and is fine, but you have no evidence of it. So I guess I feel like we'll fix this little deck in the back, but it's the big concrete and the big deck.
Well, that's what they have filed for zoning clearance for. For the rest of the work, the driveway, sidewalks, finishing the deck, they filed for zoning clearance to legitimize it,
Okay,
but this is holding them off.
got it. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right, call the question. Let's.
Well,
But no, it's one
yeah,
second.
let me go ahead and I understand
State your name, whether you just want to.
Dave Paul again with the Northland Community Council. It's Northland Community Council night at BZA. Again, I have been sworn. Yes, if you go back to the site plan, this site never could have achieved a 25% rear yard. Okay, you can see that. It's just the way the house was constructed, even before the deck was there. So at some point, the belief is, even though they can't produce the document, that there was some kind of variance in effect that allowed them to have a reduction in the size of the rear yard, so that it did not represent
The builder probably got that.
25% of the
Builder probably-
total lot area. When they've come to us now, what they've asked for is a reduction to 8% of the total lot area represented by what remains behind the house. And we were kind of confused about all this, the various issues going on here, the concrete, building permits, other things. What it came down to for us was, okay, how do we verify that they now have 8% of the total lot area dedicated to the rear yard? The only variable in that is how much of that rear yard does the deck in effect shadow? And we were able to confirm that if you subtract the area of the wood deck from a line drawn from property line to property line at the back of the house, you end up with 8%, actually something more than 8%, if I recall. And so that being the case, we were satisfied to support the application for that variance specifically, 12-0 with 2 abstentions. But the concrete, as I understand it, does not, I mean, it's not a structure that basically reduces the rear yard area in any way. There may certainly be building code issues involved with its construction, but from strictly a zoning perspective, it doesn't really affect the setback, which is.
Surprised you to be too.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. Okay, do we have any more questions for the applicant? Okay, I'm ready to call the question.
Call question.
Question been called, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Malongo?
Yes.
Mr. Walkley?
Yes.
Mayor Von Bailey?
Yes, variance is granted.
Thank you.
137 Cedar Alley. Can you sign in on the sheet?
Yes, ma'am.
137 Cedar Alley is, this guy is speaking in opposition. You might want to wait.
I can't hear. Is it possible to sit up here so I can hear? Chair?
Do you have a problem with that, applicant?
File me.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
137 Cedar Alley is located on the far south side of Cedar Alley. On the south side of Cedar Alley, sorry, approximately 140 feet west of Hamlet Street. The site is zone R4 residential and located within the Italian Village Commission. The 0.6 acre site is developed with a single unit residential dwelling. Surrounding uses are a mix of single and multi-unit dwellings. The applicant proposes a room addition to the east side of the existing dwelling and detached garage to the rear of the dwelling. Variances are being requested to reduce the total lot width from 50 feet to 40 feet, reduce the total lot size from 5,000 square feet to 2,546 square feet, to allow a residential dwelling in front of an alley, reduce the total side yard from 8.2 feet, 5 feet, reduce the minimum side yard on the east side from 5 feet to 4 feet, and from 5 feet to 1 foot on the west side, and to reduce the rear yard from 25% to 21%. Planning division has no comment. There's no council adopted plan for this area. The site does fall within the Italian Village Commission. The Italian Village Commission recommends approval with a vote of 4-0. And the division traffic management has no comments. City staff is recommending approval. Although there is no council adopted plan at this location, staff can recommend approval of the requested variances as increased lot coverage and reduced side yards and setbacks are common characteristics within the dense Italian village, and a code compliant development would look out of place. Madam Chair.
Okay, can you state your name, whether you're sworn in, please?
My name is Matthew Havermill. I have been sworn in.
Okay, go ahead and add two statements about this application.
Overall, what you explained, pretty concise and clear. The property that exists currently, the homeowner's been in there for a while. He's currently in the hospital right now getting a heart transplant operation procedure, so I'm here on his behalf. Property's structurally sound, but it looks terrible. Patches all over the siding, windows, roof, all that stuff. The idea is to bring the property up to the current quality and aesthetic of the neighborhood, while also adding the square footage and living space for his son who will be living in the house. And the only thing else I'd like to add is that since the application process has started for us, code enforcement has given us a couple violations. I've been in touch with code enforcement about those, and all of those are to be addressed within the scope of this project. We're asking for approval.
And you are the architect on this project?
Well, I'm consulting with the homeowner to help him through this project. I'm just managing the project for him.
And do you have a power of attorney to speak on his behalf tonight?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Do we need that?
I don't believe we have a power of attorney.
You would need.
He would need one if he's not a licensed architect, engineer, or.
Okay, well,
But
I don't know. I've handled the entire process directly with Adam and Jamie.
I believe Josh Cartney has in the past said if the applicant stipulates that they have to stipulate something, I don't remember.
You could ask questions to clarify this individual's qualifications, basically, and go with that if you believe he is the project manager.
Well, he says he is, so what?
All I have is, I've had quite a few conversations with Jamie and Adam Trimmer alike, all the way through this process. I've handled the entire process of Italian Village Commission approval. I've been a contractor and a builder in Columbus for 10 years now, so I'm familiar with the process. I'm simply helping Stan along because he's not.
Not my judgment to make. This is your space.
Stan is also aware that we're here. If it made a difference, I could get him on the phone. We just spoke with him outside as well. He's in the hospital right now for a heart procedure.
It's not.
I thought the question we asked before was, do you have approval to represent the owner?
I think if he testifies that he has the representation to represent the owner of the property, it is within the scope of this board to let him testify.
That's I agree. Right.
I totally just did.
Okay, so back to the matter at hand. You're fine with the city's presentation of the project. I think I'm following what's happening here. Is you're putting an additional one and that's creating side yard, minimum
Yeah.
yard, rear yard.
Makes the side yards, backyards a little bit smaller than normal and then faces the front of the alley, which kind of already does.
And the Italian Village Commission recommended approval. Did you attend that meeting?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay. It looks like it was a unanimous vote, so there was no.
Yeah, we went back and forth with them a couple times. They had a couple things that they wanted. Stan, the homeowner, he's like, look, you want me to paint it purple, I'll paint it purple. You want the windows to be this, they'll be that. They asked us what they wanted, gave it all to them. They thanked us and approved everything right on the spot.
Okay, I will ask this gentleman to speak because he's come forward to speak
For the right minutes.
on this application.
Yeah,
You can state.
Is it all?
Yes, on. State your name and whether or not you're sworn in.
Sorry, I am hard of hearing. Pre-9/11 intelligence, so it's been a nightmare. Okay, my name is Thomas Mustrick. I'm a successor trustee for the Helen L. Mustrick Trust. I had to put my name because I don't exist in the government into the trust, and I had permission to do that. And the courts will confirm that I'm the original owner of the property. I purchased the property from Mrs. Fish.
What property?
I live at 134 East Lincoln Street, which is, this particular property is actually the servants' quarters for Mrs. Fish back long ago.
Okay, so two back to back. Okay, I got it.
Yeah, when I bought this from Mrs. Fish, she didn't want to sell off her backyard, but the purchaser promised her money to go to Germany to die. She was elderly and she was ripped off by $5,000 by another contractor and written in the public dispatch.
You only have 3 minutes.
I can't hear you.
You only have 3 minutes.
Oh, okay. He didn't tell you that. Does that include the pictures?
Includes
3
everything.
minutes total.
Legal one.
What?
3 minutes total.
Yeah.
Okay,
whatever
well,
you want.
I have the pictures here that show the landlocked, the property that I have, the backyard is totally landlocked. I went to the fire department house, number one, they said that that the equipment is bigger now, not smaller, to be able to go through these bypasses. I did not have proper service to have notice of the Italian Village Commission to be in accordance with the law. And I don't know what it was notified here in accordance with the law, what that law is, so I'd like to be apprised of that. Basically.
Let me stop you for a second.
We can cover that.
What's your objection to this?
No, I have no egress to the backyard. There's no, the east, north, south, and west are all blocked out. And the fire department said that they had not signed off on it. They didn't know about it. And what's shocking about this is that it says that the setbacks are common characteristics within the dense Italian village, and a code compliant development would look out of place. Well, we put codes there to have symmetry, so to protect safety. I'm objecting that these are now at a critical point. This brings up a legitimate question of how far can we go in breaking down properties and making them useful. And I know Stan, I mean, he's a really nice fellow, and we're gonna try and work out something, and if you do turn it down, but I'm recommending that be turned down for the reasons.
Pause for 1 second.
I can't hear you.
Pause for 1 second. I'm not taking your time away. I'm trying to get clarification on.
Gladly, yeah. I'd like to point out that, he's saying that the variances are out of character in the neighborhood.
No, I'm not speaking to that.
Well, let me just finish one thought.
Okay.
All the variances that this applicant is proposing for, this gentleman could also apply for to legitimize his property. other than fronting of a right of way. Now, he's saying that he had, his whole objection and why he's here, from what I gathered, is that you have no access to the rear yard because you typically had been going through the north owner's parcel, which you can't do anyway.
Can't do anything, and I never went through that because I don't own that property. Now, it was part of this property originally, so we have to do
But I don't have, so,
a quiet title.
hold on, sir. Jamie, I don't understand. Does this person not have access to their property?
Well, there's a right of way right here
When you're, where's,
on Lincoln Street.
If I may, he's proposing that our addition will block access to his property through the owner of 137 Cedar Avenue yard. He wants to be able to access his property from the rear through the yard.
No, that's not the fire department cannot make access to it, and that's my main objection now. I
so
felt
the
like,
fire department can't get around, where's, can you point me to where his property is?
This gentleman's house is right here. The applicant's house is right
And
here.
there's no street right there?
That's a public right of way. That's Lincoln.
I think cars there.
Right in front of it.
we're gonna try and get egress,
But hold on,
by,
sir. Hold on, sir. Why are you saying that fire trucks cannot get to your property because
because
it's a street?
if they were smaller, there have been access to the backyard to fight fires, but there's no way right now for that to be done. And the size that they've shrunk this to allow this construction has never been approved by the fire department, and it defeats the purpose of why we have codes that they're numbered like that, so that it becomes a legitimate question, how far can we go to tearing down a property that was part of my property, that was objected to by the previous owner, Mrs. Fish, and but she was given $1,000 to go back to Germany to die, and she took the money, and the rest of its history is terms of land theft. We're going to have to do maybe what is known as a quiet title search, and which is not a matter of this particular area. But what I did work with with Stan, who I've known for some 20 years or more, and is that we can work together possibly in working out an access where the gas are for the Columbia Gas, to give that area up, and then we'll have egress possibility from Cedar Avenue, or I can get an egress by when the ODOT's agreed to remove the fence and replace the fence and straighten it out, going to the bridge down.
Okay, yeah.
So
that makes a difference because
we discussed before the meeting, all these issues you're bringing up are civil matters. There has nothing you're saying has anything to do with the zoning variance.
But sir, the point was though that we have matters before the commission here where we might be able to get access from East Lincoln Street by
Not if he doesn't grant it. Not if the property owner to the north does not grant it.
What?
So, sir, I don't see you having a hardship with public access to your property. And.
There is no access.
But there is. I'm looking at
What is the access?
I'm looking at a street.
What street? That's Summit Street. There's there's a fence that goes, an ODOT fence that goes all the way from the bridge, all the way up to Warren Avenue. And it goes right by this property.
Okay, hold on, we're gonna get to Google Maps.
137.
She's referring to Lincoln. She's referring to Lincoln.
I mean, yeah, we're straight out.
So it looks like that's your house right there, sir?
Right there. That's the front there, and you can see over on the left-hand corner.
That's your house? Right here?
Yes.
Okay, so you have access to your street, any
I have
public.
a handicap parking area.
Any public vehicle can get to your house. Any public vehicle can access your house.
No, there's no parking at all anywhere for my house, except at that street location where my handicap spot is.
Sir, I'm looking at the whole street here. So I think we got your testimony. We appreciate what you're saying, but.
There's no egress for contractors to get into my backyard.
They have to walk from the front.
They can't get any equipment, fire equipment or anything like that back through there to put in, you know, to do the work there, but have to do that I needed to have done to do, I mailed in a,
But that's not our concern about accessing your property from the back.
well,
It has nothing to do with his property rights to do something on his land.
on here, under city.
Sir,
Department's recommendations.
So, I appreciate your testimony.
What?
But I appreciate your testimony, but we've gone as far as we can go with this. We cannot allow you to just continue to talk about something that we don't agree with. So I appreciate your testimony. Thank you. Your time is up.
Okay, well, I wasn't.
Your time is up. Thank you. Applicant, do you have anything to say?
No, thank you.
Okay. Do we have anybody here that wants to speak about this property?
Call question.
Questions have been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Maleka?
Yes.
Mr. Walkley?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey?
Yes, variance is granted. Thank you.
And I would encourage you to continue to represent your colleague, your friends, that you do have a POA.
I will absolutely do that. I appreciate you guys' flexibility. Thank you, Jamie, for all you've done so far.
575 to 587, is that right? Wedgewood Drive.
Five 75 through 587 Wedgewood Drive is located on southwest corner of Sullivan Avenue and Wedgewood Drive. It's in the Greater Hilltop Area Commission in Zone C4. The 1.37 acre site is developed with multi-tenant commercial building and parking. Surrounding uses include multi-unit residential to the south, a daycare and truck repair shop to the west, a church and recycling center to the north, and a multi-tenant commercial center to the east. The applicant proposes to allow a food truck to remain on the property overnight and is requesting a special permit for a portable building to remain on the property without having to be moved nightly. Planning staff has no comment on the applicant's special permit proposal for a portable building. Neither the Hilltop Lanes plan and C2P2 address the matter of portable buildings. Division of Traffic Management requested right-of-way dedication of 40 feet from Center Left Sullivan Avenue. Requested additional information regarding the patio area for the food truck and requested the bike rack be relocated and site layout around the food truck to be revised. All these comments have been addressed. The Greater Hilltop Area Commission recommends approval with a vote of 8-0. And staff is comfortable recommending approval as food trucks that would remain on site on a more permanent basis are being reviewed by both the neighborhood group and the BZA, which can impose conditions on a case-by-case basis. Further, the food trucks undergo annual inspections by both the fire and health departments for licensing. Yeah, sure.
Do we grant these indefinite or we put a time period on them?
Typically, it's indefinite. I believe there have been times that we've put time limits, but those typically haven't been food trucks. Those have been like the DHL package pickups and like generate construction, whatever.
And I think it wouldn't be a bad idea. I mean, people change, and so I think I don't want to do it every year, but every 5 years or something.
Okay.
The only concern with that is who's going to be following up after 5 years.
If it expires, they're out of code compliance.
But our code wouldn't ever really know, and unless they're reported, and then code went out to inspect and happen to pull the file and see that it's expired, that's the only way they would ever be caught.
But isn't that with everything? And like you said, they have annual inspections. So, I mean, I just feel like there should be
It
accountability.
does seem a little odd that we would be allowing a portable building to be indefinite,
Indefinite, yeah.
but we'll hear from the applicant. State your name, please, and whether you're sworn in.
Yes, Jean Cabral, and I've been sworn in.
Okay.
I've been going through quite a few of these because my name's kind of known in these circles. And I've only had 1 out of 8 that put not so much a time limit on it, but just like they would look at it again and like the commission, area commission would look at it in like 2 or 3 years, something like that, see if everything was okay.
Yeah, I
But
feel like-
it wasn't, you know, the others, what's really interesting is they become very well known when they're there, the food trucks.
Right.
And people, this one's been here for almost 10 years. But it's the special permit that's kind of new and being applied to food trucks. And there's a lot of confusion because there's state law, there's city law as far as using the right of ways, then there's zoning law, and then there's health department. So these guys have a slew of, you know, of certificates and qualifications and everything else, but they tend to retain a very loyal clientele, and if they move, even at night, it does so much wear and tear on the truck. But the trucks have wheels, so they're movable.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
get it.
They are movable. They're not like what do you call, you know, like when you have the school extra, you know, mobile homes type of thing, you know, without wheels on them. But there was, I don't know what, this site had a few compliance issues. It's been there a long time. They're just things like striping of spaces. There's plenty of parking. So there were some things like the dumpsters weren't enclosed. They have nothing to do with this variant, this special permit. But through the site approval process, everything's been approved pending an approval for the special permit for the truck.
And that's why it's good to be able to put our set of eyeballs on it
Yeah.
routinely,
Mhm.
so that we can catch these non-compliant issues.
Right.
So,
And sometimes it could be something else. I think what brought it to the attention, he had a mobile home parked on the property that was his, because the man that owns the convenience store owns the property. So I think is what triggered it, because the food truck's been there a super long time. Now, I did go by the other day, where they've been parked for a really long time is too close to the street. They're gonna have to move back 15 feet. We're also gonna have, site compliance wants bollards around. There's just part of the asphalt. They're gonna put 2 tables on it, which they're doing right now. But we need to put bollards around those.
But is that kind of stuff, I guess?
That stuff is not the variant.
Yeah, I'm questioning, I guess that's their site approved, that site.
The bollards were brought up by traffic management,
Okay.
and they
Yeah.
were included on the site plan.
Yeah, the last one that they got has all the bollards.
And so it'll designate where the truck is allowed to be.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see because these are kind of
Okay.
such a big site, but it's back over here towards the northwest corner. But right now it's all the way to the grass. And I put it where the parking setback is along Sullivan. So it'll be 25 foot back from
yeah.
property line.
What's happening?
But we had a similar thing where it was a parking lot. I don't know if it was on South High Street. You remember that? A big parking lot. And they even told them they could put picnic tables out there. That's why we need to have our eyeballs on this with some,
Yeah.
you know, routine.
But if it's a site plan with the noted there, that makes me a little bit more
Yeah.
comfortable that there's some.
I mean, they're not gonna, we went back and forth a few times on this, so, you know, I did everything they asked, you know. For some reason, many years ago, the parking along Wedgewood, for instance, wasn't 5 foot back from the property line, so we're gonna just pull it back and restripe it, you know, so. But there's plenty of room. Even like a lot of places, nobody had dumpster enclosures, so we're gonna build some dumpster.
Truck here. Is there no requirements for landscape and parking?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Ms. Malika.
Oh, is there no requirement for landscape and parking?
There should be, landscape, there should be headlight screening.
It's so just perimeter, not in.
There's interior, there should be, the, parking lot trees.
They approved,
Parking lot shade trees, very
they
small.
approved it without that.
I'm just answering your question. So-
Yeah, so why wouldn't, if site compliance would look at this, wouldn't they call that out?
They didn't because, I think because it was an existing lot and we have perimeter trees along Sullivan and none of the parking places face,
Yeah.
the headlights aren't facing Sullivan.
They're not changing. So, I think it's because the parking lot is existing and there's no changes to the parking lot, so.
But they're
there's
restriping.
Just a little bit, just that 5 foot setback.
That's the first side.
No, I'm just curious more than anything, so.
I think that would.
Not that it's changed my opinion.
Gene, are you in final flight compliance right now? Have you
It's,
submitted?
they approved it,
Oh, it's been approved,
pending,
but without this
pending
portable
this,
building shown?
with what?
Without the portable building shown on the site plan?
No, it's shown on the site
Oh, it
plan.
is, so they approved.
It's tiny, it's all the way, you can see how big the site is, because the food truck is all, just this little square up here. It's tiny, it's pretty big.
Yeah, I think any modification would trigger the need to be in total compliance. What do you think, Kevin?
I mean, we have certain items when we review, and I don't review for zoning, so I can't speak to theirs, but there are certain items that traffic management will review that are existing non-compliant, so we won't require those to be brought into compliance if there's not a significant change being done to the site. So in my opinion, if I was reviewing this and all they were doing was adding a food truck and getting a special permit, we would not force them to come into compliance with every last item that we reviewed for, unless it was a safety hazard or some other type of violation of access. So like I said, I can't speak for zoning on those because they review for their site as well, but I would note, I have not seen this particular site plan come through for site compliance review yet. They may have reviewed it with the zoning review for the BZA, which is a separate process that we do.
I saw it then.
But I don't have this one on my list for site compliance, so that's just what I see at the moment. And typically, I guess that typically BZA doesn't, or BZS doesn't approve site compliance plans before the variance or a special permit is
Well,
received.
it's not, I guess it's not so much that they put the final stamp
Yeah.
on it, because they won't final stamp it till this is okayed. But they came back, they had no more comments.
Sure.
Well,
And maybe
you can look up the comment letter, see if
Yeah.
you did address it.
Yeah.
I don't even see it in the system, so.
Oh,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
well, it could be the street number, gotta go by part, because when they have these multiple addresses, sometimes they're hard to find in the permit. Or sometimes like a dash is missing in Noah Bixby, and I can't find it,
So the question is, ma'am, what would you be comfortable with putting a limit on the?
I'll be honest with you, no, because it's been there for a really, really long time. It's not a tight site whatsoever, and it's been part of the fabric of West Sullivan Street for a long, long time. I mean, I just don't think that, right now, I just got just one approved recently, but the last three haven't had any restrictions.
What municipality approved, not Columbus?
No, they're Columbus.
And you got a site, you got a special permit approved indefinitely?
Yeah, most of them are always in.
What site was that?
Trying to remember the address.
Yeah, I don't think we've been, like Steve said, we don't really time limit the food trucks, just the DHLs and the.
Why would we make a distinction? And I'm curious, you
I just
came
don't
here
remember
for a
this.
special permit? I don't think so. Not before this body.
I'm not sure what you mean.
You did not come before this body for a special permit recently that we approved.
Not this body, no, but there's.
That's
not
what I asked you.
Yeah, no, it hasn't gotten to this point yet on some of these. I've gone through area commissions. I did get one through, on the Far East area.
Well, as you know, they're just an opinion.
Right, but that one got approved.
But when you say approved, what does that even mean?
It got approved by the commission.
Right.
Then they have to bring it here.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm fuzzy on just this history
Me too.
of us approving these with no limits. I don't have that recollection.
I'll be honest with you, I've never seen one, other than the one that I did out off of near Bryce Road, have the commission ask for a limitation on the time.
I've had numerous food trucks and that have not had a search. None of them have had a time limit placed on them.
Okay.
I'm still a no there. You guys do whatever you want to do, but I'm not comfortable with it.
Okay. Is there anybody here to speak about this? Please come forward, sir.
Is this in your area?
Hi,
You just give them.
no, it's.
No, it's not.
Please state your name, the record.
My name is Dave Paul. I chair the Norfolk Community Council Development Committee. No, this is not in my area. I'm here because I'm very interested in this topic. For one thing, because this is something we're seeing approaching very rapidly in the Northland area. In fact, Gene came to talk with us a while back about another site that for various reasons didn't work out. But the issue was the same issue. It was basically a food truck that was located on private property, commercial property. The city came to him or came to the property owner and said, you got to move that food truck every night. And the solution that the city found for this issue is you can to avoid having to move the food truck every night, which is based on a memo that Chris Prizzuti wrote many years ago, they said, well, you can instead call the food truck a portable building and get a special permit for it. Okay. We don't quite understand the logic, but I'm gonna set that aside because apparently that's, the city's all in on that solution to the problem. I do have a question though, if I may, for the applicant or their representative, and that is, again, the applicant is getting around the requirement to move the food truck every night through this, and I'm not criticizing them at all, but that's the purpose of this application, is to avoid having to move the food truck every night.
Correct.
You've mentioned several times the food truck's been there for a very long time.
Correct.
Does the applicant understand that in order to continue to be a food truck licensed by the state, they need to move it every 40 days?
Yes.
Okay. And that's one concern of ours.
Where does it move to? They're not specific. Can it move to the other side of the lot? Can it move to the back of the building?
Jurisdiction.
What's that?
That's not in our jurisdiction.
I know.
It's not in our jurisdiction, but what we wanted to make sure that we were not communicating to applicants was,
Once you get the special permit, you don't have to follow back.
you don't have to move every
State lines, yeah.
Oh, state law. But the issue though, ma'am, the issue is if you have a site plan and you have a food truck located at this particular place on site plan, you can't be somewhere else on the site with the food truck.
So to your point about moving it where, you can't move it somewhere else.
It has to go to an M lot and try to find one sometimes close by that is willing to lease you overnight a spot to put your truck on. Now, this is the irony. If you have like, say, a little restaurant and what's connected to the restaurant is a food truck that serves food, you can park that truck by city zoning code. You can park it on a C4 lot behind the building at night as long as you don't serve food. But you can't serve food out of a food truck, but it can park there all the time.
And I remember
You know,
all of
it's
this
just
with
like-
Chris, I remember all of it a long time ago, but I don't remember when we started issuing special permits and just said forever.
Well, I think, Gene, you may be wrong. You can't store overnight whether you serve food or not.
That's not what I've been told, not by Nick.
That's the memo. Memo says you can keep it, you can have it on site as long as it doesn't take up any required parking.
Right.
It's a C4 zone lot.
Right.
But you can't, the whole point of them coming to this, because no one serves from a food truck at midnight.
Yes, they do.
Or 4 a.m.
The smart ones go next to a bar
well,
and serve
right,
food,
right.
you know.
and I have one last question, and I guess this is as much for staff as it may be for Mr. Brawl. And that is the special permit that's being issued. It's being issued to the property owner,
Well,
not
that
to,
was, and that was gonna be my question, is the
who is the
food
recipient?
getting the special permit, the commercial property owner is getting it, and so they can have any.
No, so it's just like any part, you know, the.
That's not what I
Especially if it goes to the land, but it's the applicant that is applying for it.
The tenant.
So if this property owner wants to, has a beef with this tenant or this food truck, can kick them out, they can bring another one in. As long as they park in the same spot as shown.
No, because if we're giving it to the tenant is the food truck, right?
No, they're not the applicant on this application.
So on the DHL, who was the applicant?
DHL.
Right, they don't own Easton,
Correct.
so same thing that she's saying.
But that was also time limited.
It was what?
Time limited.
And this will be too if I'm voting for it.
So hold on a second, I do want to get this clear. Who will be giving the portable building special permit to?
It's been my understanding it's a property. Runs the plan. It runs, yeah. If it's not, yeah.
For instance,
So-
let's
so
forget
they
that
can-
there's a
and the
truck.
whole goal is so they can.
Let me say
interface.
something. Let's forget that there's a truck on this property. Forget that altogether. But one of the tenants is a bar, okay? That bar owner leaves, goes out of business, and another bar owner comes in. It's still
A bar.
it's still a bar. And it's the same thing with the food truck. It just because a tenant changed on barber shop to
Yeah.
barber shop or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing because somebody could die, they could, decide not to do it anymore or something like that. But the thing that my frustration has been, just like what's going on, I'm getting stories from all these different sources. I've heard different things from you that I've heard from somebody else in zoning. And the same here and here and here. And it's like very confusing as to, time limits and locate and all this kind of stuff. You can park it overnight. No, you can't park it overnight. And all this stuff is not cohesive. It's not
I'm just gonna use the word
together.
coherent.
Coherent.
So.
I don't mean at all to prejudice your discussion and decision on her case. I'm trying to learn because again, it's coming our way as well. We have similar cases that we're going to be asked to make a recommendation on.
But somebody from your commission, but somebody on your commission, I heard him say, he was the one that turned in 21 food trucks in the Northland area.
That could be.
He said it at the meeting.
When you say
Like that.
violation.
Okay.
Well, I know that, but
So
it's still like, it almost feels. I also work with people that
So
have.
we're getting off track. We're
Okay.
not trying to solve
Thank
the
you.
truck industry in this meeting tonight. We can vote on the granting of the special permit to the property owner, which you are representing.
Mhm.
And which means that it could be late night slice, or it could be Cheryl's Cookies,
Right.
whoever they want to be at this particular place on the site plan.
Okay.
Okay, we're clear.
I mean, we could say 5 years if you want to do 5 years. And that time he may sell the property for all I know.
I can vote for 5 years.
Okay.
But
Then
I
we
think seriously, Eleanor, I want to be as consistent as possible. So the reason DHL was temporary is because they said they wanted it temporary. And so you put that time limit on, I'm not picking on you, Stephen, I'm just trying to be clear. So that one doesn't follow the land. The applicant was basically the tenant. So how do we even do that?
I haven't had any of those specific cases. All of my portable building ones have been specifically food trucks. So that's why I can speak to the history of those cases. I'm not sure why conditions were put onto the DHL ones for time limit.
And why they were to DHL and not Easton?
The
Yeah,
Easton one was a time limit.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable with us starting today to put a time limit on these. If we have the city staff say.
We can table it for
that
now.
we haven't had time limits on these.
I'd rather, if you could say with 100% certainty. Like even the one that we did, and I'm trying to make the distinction, are we doing it for the tenant or are we doing it for the landowner? So for DHL and Easton, we did it for the tenant.
Well, no.
Okay,
We allowed Easton to have a portable building on site for X number of years, whatever, 18
Okay.
months. DHL just happened to be the portable building that was enjoying that special.
Yeah, at the end of the day, the way landlord-tenant law works is the tenant cannot bind the property owner to anything.
right.
Binds whatever the lease agreement says.
But this special permit was to DHL.
Correct.
And I guess that's.
Well, no. Well,
No,
we
he's
have
saying
the
it's-
special permit
he's
for the
saying-
property.
It's the
Okay.
property owner.
That's why when we have the application, you got the applicant.
That's why we just have with.
That's why I heard differently. I heard that it was special for DHL.
No, that's what we just had with Rebecca. She was the applicant. We had a property owner.
If you can say for certain that we have not approved any special permits for food trucks with time limits, I'll trust you and I'll go with it. It just seems bizarre to me.
If there's ever any problem, I mean, you got health that can come down on them, zoning can come down on them. A whole bunch of people can come down on them fast if they're trash, if they're parked, if they move the truck into the wrong spot. There's a whole bunch of people have their eyes on all these trucks along with other businesses in these areas. So I feel like you, I'll be honest with you, Columbus zoning has got their eyes very sharp on everything going on.
Code enforcement.
Code enforcement, they do. I mean, they find stuff that you go, huh? I didn't know that they were doing that, but.
Okay.
And I'd like to draw your attention to number 5. It says, when not used, mobile vending trailers, cars, or other units shall not be stored on site unless inside of a permitted structure. So.
Which is a
So in a
portable building.
garage.
Well, no. A permanent structure, the portable building has to be parked in like a warehouse or garage.
But I've been
No,
told,
but that doesn't make any sense.
I've been told otherwise by some.
The portable
Well,
building has to be stored.
The question is that memo still current guidance? That's from
Yeah.
2004.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Things have changed a lot in 20 years.
Yeah, there has not been a lot of technological revolution in portable.
Well, we have such an enormous influx of immigrants. I've got clients now, I've now hit 60 countries.
I think you
for
already
clients,
get them off-site.
born in 60 countries. A lot of them start out with
You know,
very
structure-
modest.
I think everybody.
Yeah, everyone's over talking.
Yeah, so I think we're ready to vote on this.
Okay.
Are you ready to call the question? Well, we're not going to limit it by time, as said by staff. This has not been our precedent for food trucks. Are we ready to call the question?
Call the question.
Question big call, roll.
Mr. Lovely,
No.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Malacca?
Yes.
Chair Palmer?
Yes, special permit granted. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
For right now, my brain's so fried right now. By the way, those chairs are actually a lot more comfortable than they were.
2519 Summit Street. Is that not? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Is he walking up? No, sorry.
Hey, Jamie,
Yeah,
is that recording?
yeah.
But I thought you crashed when it was recording.
So the fee
Yeah, there you go.
should be.
I thought it usually flashed when it was recorded.
It says live.
Yeah, but live is different than recording.
We're good, we're good.
Okay, thank you. Just making sure. There's a whole lot going on here.
Yeah, I'm about to expire.
Yeah, me too.
So now back to everyone's favorite topic. 2519 Summit Street is located on the southeast corner of East Hudson Street and Summit Street. It's located in the University Area Commission and Zone C4. The 0.12 acre site is currently developed with a parking lot. Surrounding uses include commercial to the west, south, and east, and a mix of single and two-unit residential to the north. Applicant is proposing to allow up to 4 food trucks to remain on property overnight and is requesting a special permit for portable buildings to remain on property without having to be moved nightly, and a variance to reduce the number of parking spaces from 15 to 0. The University District Plan doesn't address the matter of portable buildings, therefore staff has no comment. Planning is generally supportive of a proposed parking variance, but request the applicant provide an additional bicycle rack. The University District Plan recommends enhancing the district's pedestrian orientation by reducing reliance on the automobile while enhancing bicycle connectivity. Therefore, staff supports the variance through required parking, for request an additional bicycle rack for greater consistency with plan design guidelines. If an additional bicycle rack is not feasible to fit on site, staff recommends the applicant contact the Department of Public Service for support of potential placement in the right of way. Mobility and parking services, which waive the parking study requirements, since the request will formalize the existing conditions and all comments from the Division of Traffic Management have been addressed. The University Area Commission recommends approval with a vote of 10 to 0. And staff is comfortable recommending approval as food trucks that wish to remain on site on a more permanent basis are being reviewed by both the neighborhood group and the BZA, which can impose conditions on a case-by-case basis. Further, the food trucks will undergo annual inspections by both fire and health departments for licensing.
Can you state your name when you were sworn in, please?
My name is Andy Ringo Jones,
Okay. So you are the property owner,
manager, property manager.
property manager. You're not the food truck people.
I am not.
Okay, but you were wanting food trucks to be able to be parked on your lots to be stored there, or you're actually selling food from the food trucks on the lot?
The food trucks are selling food on the lot.
That's different.
Okay.
That's not storage.
Well, overnight, that's what the special permit is.
So again, I have to tell you, I am so confused right now.
The special permit allows the food truck to remain without being moved, because currently our code says you can have a food truck set up, but it has to vacate the property at the end of service. When they're done, they have to leave and they can't store it overnight. The special permit allows those food trucks to remain in that same location overnight.
Not in service.
Correct.
Because the thought was you would pack up your stuff and then drive it where? Because you can't take it to your residence.
Exactly, and
So
as you
where
saw,
would you be taking it?
they have to be stored inside.
Inside?
Like a garage or warehouse.
Yeah.
There was a rezoning and a council variance on, I want to say, it was south, it's kind of near Water's Edge, where they had a giant lot with a giant warehouse. They stored food trucks, and provide napkins and ketchup and whatever condiments, specifically for these food truck places to come store overnight. So there is a business model for
But that becomes a additional,
cost.
yeah, but to drive your truck all the way down from Clintonville,
They break
wherever
down,
else.
tear down, set up everything.
Yeah, night, when this is your location and you have a property owner that's willing to let you be there.
So that's kind of the
Okay,
whole point of the special permit is
Okay,
If you have a good relationship with the property owner,
okay,
there's no need to be moving constantly and that headache on the food truck owner.
okay,
But you have to stop service,
Of course, yeah.
and
okay.
then that gets gray, like, we've said to somebody they're approved, and then, you know what I mean, that's, I'm so,
No, I get what's happening. Yeah.
I do
Okay.
think it's.
Is there anybody here to speak about this application? Oh, please come forward. Okay, can you state your name, whether or not you're sworn in?
Caitlin Martineau, I have not been sworn in.
Okay, sir.
Eric Martineau, I have not been sworn.
Okay, I'll swear you both in. Want to raise your right hand? You promise that the testimony you give tonight is the truth, and the truth, please state I do.
I do.
I do.
Okay, I'll have one of you go at a time.
So apologize, we love Andy, we love the applicants. I own Capital City Scooters, which is right around the corner. We've been there for a little over 15 years.
Okay.
We're at 2509 Summit. And when we moved in, there wasn't much, we were one of maybe 3 or 4 businesses. And so we've really enjoyed the growth of the community. We love Evolved. They have a couple of businesses, but parking's been very, very difficult for the entire time we've been there. And as you can see in the picture, there are already 2 food trucks, which we enjoy. And there are also 2 brick and mortar restaurants right on the corner there. You can also see in that picture a lot of, well, that bus is not there anymore. I brought a recent picture if you want to see, but Evolved and Used Kids Records, which is also across the street, have lots of employees and lots of customers. And so it's very difficult to find parking. I know my customers complain that they have to walk blocks and blocks. And so
So are you in this strip mall? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, so where the red food truck is, or you can see,
You passed the picture. Dang.
yeah. So right around the corner where the S is, there's 2, I don't know if you can see that, that's an S, but around that corner there's 2 restaurants, and then we are, right there, so.
When you say two,
So-
in the same strip, or you're in a
Yes.
different building?
Different building.
Different building.
Okay.
The ground roof is yours,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah,
So ground roof.
yeah, and our building goes all the way back to the alley, we're like a bowling alley, so
And
we
your,
have
the parking
zero,
for your establishment is where?
we have no parking.
Okay, but you have street parking, or no?
I mean, it's public street parking.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And so it just, I think it's just a little bit of a difficulty. I want to support our neighbors, of course.
So you're
And
saying-
what's the difficulty?
You have to.
just losing all that parking
Losing all what part?
in that parking lot where
But
they want
It's
to.
not your parking lot.
May I?
Wait, no, wait, hold on. Well, like
Well,
the,
just, but their employees park there, and if they can't park there, then they park in front of our shop, or, do you see what I'm saying? So it just.
So then they're allowed.
Yes,
but it pushes, so they're also requesting a reduction in parking from 15 to 0.
Why
So
would you,
she's saying that's going to push those 15 cars.
Like, clarify a few things. To figure out the number of parking spaces that need to be varied, we overestimated the square footage for the food trucks, just to make sure we could capture the square footage of the food trucks that would be there. So that 15 is a little bit of an overestimation. But also, the original site plan for this property, we've been going back and forth quite a bit, did include parking, and that went through staff review. It was noted that a few other variances were going to be needed, and during that time, traffic management said they would not support parking on this site because it required a maneuverability variance that would have been maneuvering out onto Hudson, and they would not support that at all. Just flat out, they said that. So
So it's either the parking or the food trucks.
even if
Now, you can't go.
they couldn't do parking whatsoever.
Oh, they don't want parking on it
They're-
at all.
so you know, why are you asking for a parking variance? And here's what I don't understand. So the building with the white roof that has the writing, the mural on the wall, has parking behind it. And they also own the lot where these food trucks are going, right?
No.
The
Sir, can you
the
finish
building
your-
across the street with the solar panels on it is owned by the same
applicant, and the building to the left of it, left of the blue across the alley is also owned by the same applicant.
While you stay up there, please.
That building that the cursor is on now has just received a variance to be allowed to open as a bar and reduced from, I think it was 20, over 18 spots down to 3. The solar panel building on
I
Square.
don't know what that means when you say that. Oh, I see it now, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry, what I was referring to, the other building was reduced to 3 parking spots for the new bar and venue. The solar panel building, which is the tattoo parlor Evolved, has 12 spots on square footage, would require at least 21. Those businesses and the owner, the applicant, already has businesses that are intensive enough that they use those parking spots, and to get rid of them will force all of their business.
I get it, but my question is, the white roof building owns the building and the lot to the north of it.
No.
So who owns the building where the food trucks are going? Who owns the lot?
There is no building on this lot.
Who owns that lot?
Vacant lot.
The LLC, which owns that building and that building owns.
Well.
Republicans LLC, who he's here representing.
Maybe Andy.
Yeah, can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
So first of all, they're exactly right. We need more parking in that area, and that's what we want. We're going with the food trucks because we're not allowed to do anything. We're not allowed to park there. But the main thing I wanted to clarify is that it's not the same LLCs, which is kind of splitting hairs. It's same owner, but I don't know if that matters.
Different names. though.
Yes,
That's
it's a different LLC that just.
Yeah, he's saying it's the same owner.
I thought I looked them up and they were all Bubbykins LLC. Maybe
Well, they're
they're
the same
Bubbykins-
owner, but different
Bubbykins
LLC.
3, Bubbykins 4, I don't know.
So the question is, technically, this is a technical variance for the reduction of the parking spaces from 15 to 0 because they can't park there at all.
He really wanted to provide parking on this site, and we tried, and just looking at it, it wasn't gonna work. So they would have needed to provide parking blocks, would have put the spaces back a little bit more.
Okay.
And you need the 20-foot maneuvering, which they would have needed a variance for, and that's what traffic said. There would be no support for that.
Okay.
But
So-
you're saying a portable building triggers parking?
No.
Yeah, they have to.
Oh, yeah.
So we're classifying this as a portable building, but we know it's a food truck. Right?
Food trucks are portable buildings.
That don't really have tenants, you know what I mean? It's not truly a building.
But they do have cars coming up to it. They do have
Yeah,
vendors.
but a lot of times. people
What I'm
sit in-
saying is, the fact that it's a building, it's not like it's a brick and mortar restaurant. So you're triggering parking for 15 and saying going to 0, but you really don't have parking anyway. And nor do you really require it. I mean, I see that they're gonna just pull up and order or pull up and go. But
They can't even do that.
Yeah, but.
No vehicles are allowed on us, other than.
And the access that's right here, there's going to be a chain or a sign put across there, and the access here is going to be restricted for only the food trucks to be able to get onto the site.
So, I don't know what
So
you're.
no other vehicles will be able to access.
I
the
guess my
front.
point is, like we say an apartment building, you might need 10 parking
Yeah,
spaces,
that's
but
what
you
they're
have
saying
people
for.
moving in to live.
Yeah.
That's not the case here.
That is the case. That's what he said. They've overestimated the square footage of to figure out what would be the parking required. Because it's like any other retail establishment. You're bringing in people to your retail establishment. What's the square footage? That determines how many spaces you need. That's what they estimated the square footage of for food trucks to be equal to the need of 15 spaces. But there's gonna be 0 parking on the lots, period, whether they had these food trucks or anything else, because the lot is not parkable. So I think that gets to your issues. There's nothing else that could be done about parking because this lot is not gonna allow parking.
So taking that away, if this is a non-parkable lot, by granting variance, you're creating a greater parking demand in a place that can't
It's
accommodate.
non-parkable without granting it.
I understand, so, but if it's 15, if
Yeah,
it's
but-
12, whatever's being added on, if it's left without that variance, they wouldn't be
But,
parking.
if they could build a building, they could build a gap there, and it'll be the same result.
Well, they'd have to ask for a variance.
Right, and we
for
would
that,
give it,
But that would,
because otherwise the property is useless, and we wouldn't want to have a property owner harmed in that way. They can't use the lot for anything.
and I understand that, and I think that's why the variance is for all these existing, streetcar hub buildings that didn't have parking were there, and granted in the first place. But without a building there to grant it, you're not accommodating an existing problem, you're creating one. You're allowing a new situation.
You're right.
that has Parking.
You're right, but in this case, it's not taking away any parking. So to the point earlier, oh, their employees will have to park somewhere else and take up your spots. Nobody could park here anyway. So even if we say no, they could set up picnic tables that are not portable buildings. I don't mean to present an idea, I'm sorry. Something could happen there.
Right.
And I understand and respect that, but like the earlier variance, when you were talking about the parking on Avalon, and you're like, well, those driveways are not really conforming, they're parked in the right of way. That was illegal parking, but it helped the neighborhood, accommodates the neighborhood, and they've obviously been using it and it's been helping and use that. Maybe they're subject to citation for it if there is a.
That's the correlation here.
Well, the correlation is it's currently being used for parking, and that's aiding the neighborhood.
But that's the legal parking, and it's gonna,
He's saying
and it's gonna
traffic
take,
doesn't, I don't know that.
it's gonna be
been
taken away.
determined
He
or-
just said they're gonna be put
This
in
is
the neighborhood.
Can I clear?
One at a time,
Not just that.
probably there's categories of code violations.
Okay, they have received code violations for parking.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
So I agree with you generally, it would be displacing some people, but in this case, there's no parking there anyway. So whether we approve it or we don't, it doesn't change your situation.
Processing that it's illegal to park, so we can park trucks there, which would need their own parking, but there's no parking, and that's a good solution, but I understand. what you're
Nailed it,
saying.
you got it.
Yeah.
all right, they nailed it, Eric. They nailed it. Yeah. Is there anybody else here that wants to speak about this application?
Dave?
I think we have. Okay, so are we ready to call the question for the reduction?
Yes, call the question.
And.
Because these are separate code violations, can we call, or because they're separate code sections, can we call the question on each of them and vote separately?
We'd be happy to.
You would do that if it's a special permit and a variance request together.
Oh, okay, you know that, okay.
But it's not, we've never done that before.
Okay, we'll call the question first on portable building, grant special permit to allow 4 portable buildings. Please call the roll.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Maleka?
Yes.
Chair Palmvili?
Yes. Call the question to require parking, reduce the number of parking spaces from 15 to 0. I also want to note there's a technical variance because traffic has already said there's no parking in that space, that lot. Please call the question. Who call the roll?
Mr. Maleka?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Chair Palmvili?
Yes. Okay, variance granted, special permit granted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
1174 West Fifth Avenue.
So I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that they are not here tonight. It was a table. There's one more day.
Oh,
But yeah, they were tabled from a couple months ago. I'll email them and see what's going on.
okay.
So we're done?
1656 and 1664 West Belt.
Sorry to rush, should we vote to table 18 then?
Oh, we usually
Not-
come back around at the end to
Okay.
do all that.
Okay.
Thanks.
1656 and 1664 West Belt Drive, located on the southeast corner of West Belt Drive and Equity Drive. It's in West Iota Area Commission and zone N2. The 0.41 acre site is currently undeveloped. Surrounding uses are primarily manufacturing, distribution centers, and warehouses within railroad bordering the site on the south. The applicant proposes to construct a small-scale distribution facility and requesting a variance to reduce the minimum building setback from 50 feet to 10 feet along Westfield and 15 feet along Equity Drive. Planning is in full support of the proposal. The Tracy Roberts area plan states that streetscape improvements such as street trees or landscaping should be used to soften elevations facing public streets. The proposal is consistent with the Tracy Roberts area plan and C2P2 site guidelines. Vision and traffic management requests the applicant provides sidewalks along West Bell Drive and Equity Drive, a sidewalk connection to the building, that the parking area be paved within 50 feet of the access point at Equity Drive, and that parking spaces be indicated on the site plan. The applicant addressed all these comments, which led to a few additional comments that traffic management said can be handled during the final site plans review. The West Scioto Area Commission recommends approval with a vote of 5-0. Staff can recommend approval as this site is uniquely shaped lot and further limited by the proximity of a railroad line to the south, making it difficult to develop without the need for variances.
Can you state your name and whether or not you are sworn?
My name is Gabriel Abi, and yes, I've been.
Okay. Do you have anything else to add to this application?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have any questions for the applicant?
No.
Is there anyone here that wants to speak about this application? Okay,
I'll call the question.
question's been called, please call roll.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Malaka?
Yes.
Chair Mark.
Yes, there today.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
We're going to yeah, 1174 West Fifth Avenue, we're at the end of the meeting, there's no one here. We will vote to table it. Fine.
Aye.
We have a motion. Second,
Second.
please call the roll.
Mr. Malaka?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Chair Palmville?
Yes.
Rumor has it that they're gonna be in the one of the new corridors.
And they want to be.
They're gonna be co-compliant in the new corridor.
Honestly,
This one we say.
yeah, we may not see now, not anything.
What they have to sorry.
Approved.
Beautiful.
Dave, I was gonna throw something out, we can talk again.
Say again?
I'm gonna throw something at you.